But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of
Welcome
rhyme.
to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survive the Spin, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Names Burley, J Mells 24, Ulamento, Iron 26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video, together with, for a limited period, the ability to actually join and be in my upcoming book, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. So if you did want to be named as a contributor in that respect to my financial well-being, that is, then please do join at the Be in the Book membership level on Patreon. With that, though, I'm going to hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones. Set up for today's live show. Hello.
You?
Better join Discord, eh? So I'm handing over to Discord and then I haven't actually joined it. What do I join? Never really obvious where I join. Events, Flipside, Rules, Office, FED Text, FED Voice. There we go. Undid it. Kept promising myself I'd buy acoustic treatment with the money from the microphones, which just got swallowed. Bills, I'm sure you appreciate. You're poor too. Anyway, go on. Were you gonna respond?
I was just gonna say they'll all come back when the book comes out and you do your tour and you'll have a full house in Discord again.
I'm not worried about having a full house in Discord. I'm worried about my acoustic treatment behind me. Anyway, I'll just tell you. So my intention with flogging the mics was to spend some money finishing off the room, just the bit behind me, the first bit I did, right? Which obviously is treated as the first bit I did, but it's just treated in the worst way of all the room. So, you know, it's the last thing to get done. That's readdressed and jiggery-pokery and moved around so it looks pretty and presentable, which it never has. You know, it looked all right if I did a very tight shot on my face. But if I'm going to be on people's shows, I want my background to look nice. And if I'm going to do a read-through of the book, I do actually want the room to be not just reverberant, non-reverberant when I talk in a particular direction. Like if I point my head the way I am now, it's completely non-reverberant. Whereas if I turn my head and look at the screen, it becomes reverberant because I'm bouncing off the side wall, which isn't treated, next to me, and the corner behind me where the PC is, which isn't treated. So all around me are the only bits of the room that aren't fully treated. And if I'm going to do a read by author, I want to have the room fully treated because it won't take much to get it there. Like I've spent thousands treating it. So I went and got a quote today, or at least I went on the website and roughly totted up what I think it would cost to buy the 3 remaining panels that I want to buy. One being a tuned bass trap and the other 2 being just thick velocity traps that'll go vertically, so that it looks really nice behind me. It all matches like the rest of the room did. If I do any pictures for the eBay site, I do them against one of the other walls, and it looks awesome. Like even if I'm really far away from it, so something that needs to be quite a wide shot. Speaking to past tense because I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just clearing, I should say, some of the old stock that I just don't want to be hassled with when I'm doing the book tour. So anyway, the point being that when I took the photos for that, it looked really snazzy. You'd be like, shame I don't look like my own show. You know what I mean? With it all uniform, all lined up next to each other. The panels, that is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll do that behind me.
Well, what's the cost to get it the way you want it?
They're 250 quid per panel. So each panel, the small 60 by 60 centimetre by 25 centimetre base trap is 250 quid. And then the two, they're called monster base traps, although they constantly change their names at GIK. So I went to have a look and they've completely altered the names yet again. But what I call base traps with impression scatter plates on the front in the cube, they're called 3D cubes. And that means that the panel's wrapped in a black material and then it's beech wood for the scatter plate with the 3D square cubes that look like hexagons behind me. That's that pattern, 3D cubes. So that's what I'll buy. 2 more monster base traps. One I've already got. It needs 3 along this wall. And then the one that's above me that never gets its way on camera, or a sliver of it gets seen at the top of the shot. That'll go alongside behind the PC. The little square one that I've already got will go also by the PC, so it's treated on that wall around the PC. And I'll have thicker treatment behind me. And a bass trap for that horrible one note in here that just rings like a bell. 37 hertz or 36 hertz, I forget which. I've asked them to do 37 because then it's close enough to 40 to put it on the other wall in a different room. If 40 hertz, very, very common frequency based on UK room sizes, needs treating in a different place if I ever move all the equipment. So I've got 2 40 hertz traps and I'll get a 37 hertz trap because that's the actual frequency on the wall that the pressure trap's on, and it only works on the frequency that you tune it to. So well, it doesn't. It's a bit more broad than that, but you know what I mean? Its main frequency is specific. It's tuned around a given frequency. So the 2, but I've got a 40 hertz. I'll get one for the actual dimension of that room for that particular standing wave at 37 hertz, and 2 more pretty traps with the scatter plates with those hexagons on them, and therefore the whole room will be finished. More importantly than anything, it'll sound exceptional. Because it's almost there. It sounds very good, but occasionally I listen back to my own recording and go, I can hear the flutter echo of my own voice, and it just bugs me. Don't get me wrong. I watch Dave Murphy. It's just nothing but flutter. He's like, you've got enough God in your voice there, Dave. You can just hear his voice bounce around his room. And that's normal, right? But to me, he's like, well, you've got 70,000 subscribers. I've got 25. You should be sounding better, or at least record your videos outside somewhere non-reverberant. But it's one of them. I asked him if he wanted a new mic. I can mitigate it if I can get a mic right close to him, because he's doing it on his phone, I assume. But anyway, so yeah, I'll finish off the back wall for 750 quid. 3 panels that need to be bought, and I'll start doing the Tour D book with a better backdrop. I haven't made up my mind if I'll keep my mics out or not. Once I put them away, it might be the case that I go, it looks good without them. I'll just leave it. Or I go, well, if I don't keep them out, there's a good chance that they'll only get bought out when absolutely needed, because the one that is out will be the one that's used, right? So when you've got all these nice mics, I'm quite tempted to keep them out because I do use them. And with all of them out, I go, which is the best mic for that job that I want to grab and do now? And then you just grab the best mic available to do that particular job and use that mic. Whereas you don't ask yourself that if there's another mic nearby. That's the best mic because it's the closest to you. So whether or not I leave all these mics out is a different tale. I do think it looks cool as well. From an aesthetic point, forget that they're actually a thing that does a job. That from an aesthetic point of view, they look funky. If I picked out a load of nice ones and put them behind me, I think I could get it to look cool. I haven't made up my mind if I want to do that or not.
Now the ones behind you go in the opposite direction, right? Because those are the first ones you put up. They go like horizontally.
Yeah, they'll be vertically instead of horizontally.
All right. You'll get it. Put the word out. You'll get the money.
Ah, I've got a little bit of money. My mum gave me money for Christmas, and she was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" I was like, "Acoustic panels," and she's like, "Well, that makes a change." I think it's like for the last 10 years. What do you want for birthday? Acoustic panels. What do you want for Christmas? Acoustic panels. So, but she gave me the money, and I never bought one with the money, and it just disappeared into bills. So when she was like, "What did you buy a panel with that 200 quid I gave you?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Really?" I was like, "No, it just vanished." I'm sorry, because she gave it me specifically to buy them, and I didn't. Or a panel I was going to buy, and I just didn't. But there we go. So I'm kind of now feeling guilty, like I at least owe the present that my mum gave me in cash. On the other hand, she could have bought me a panel. She gave me cash, so it just vanished. But vanished into more, practical things like electricity and mortgages. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I've done in previous years, when it comes to buying these panels, they're not a necessity. They're an absolute luxury to make improvements to the show. I've got a tiny show, so most people would say I couldn't justify it anyway, and they'd be right. Right, the show's not big enough. Doesn't change that I want it to acoustically be excellent. You know what I mean? So it's one of those that while I have e-begged a couple of times for panels, this isn't going to be one of those occasions. I haven't, bought and sold the microphones in the first place so that I didn't have to e-beg, so that when my book came out, it was untarnished with me being, at that very moment being accused of being an e-beggar. No one's going to be doing that, and aren't currently, because I'm not. So I'm not going to be like, I need 750 quid, can I do a GoFundMe? I almost did one for the iPad. It got really close, but it just about works on one very specific charger, on my wife's laptop charger. So you're like, okay. Took it to Craig. He had all sorts of different Apple chargers, and he tried it on all of them, and none of them would charge it. And then he got one that was a bit like my wife's. My wife got a new charger from her company. Like, getting frustrated. That's the main frustration, because I'm using one that's actually being used on her company laptop. So it's not her personal laptop charger; it's the company laptop charger, because they use Apple. And that particular one that she's just had does work. And Craig had a new generic charger, and he plugged it in, and it started flashing, but wasn't charging it. So the little lightning was coming on, but coming off, coming on, and coming off. You know what I mean? And you're like, that's not working. So, and that was probably the fourth or fifth one I tried in Craig's shop. But one charger, making it charge is good enough, right? I can still produce shorts videos. I can still edit stuff. I can still do what I need to do with it. And if the book does all right, then I'll buy a new iPad with that money. If I get a few more Patreons, it might be the case that I have an extra bit of income surplus to what I absolutely require just to keep the lights on. And then I can use that to buy an iPad. But I don't want to e-beg for anything. It might be once the book's out there and everyone's, happy with it, and they're giving it as gifts to people and giving me feedback about the contents. Then I might do a GoFundMe if it's like, well, yeah, okay, I've sold half a dozen copies. I'm getting a bit of feedback. Yes, it's given me 50 quid. Very pleased. But ultimately now I do need to go do a GoFundMe so I can keep earning the money from YouTube, because I do absolutely require it. And without the iPad, it's going to minimise the amount I can do on YouTube, because it means I can't do short form videos or edited videos.
The book's going to do well.
I hope so. I really hope so. But you can't guarantee anything, Neil. You don't know. It might not sell at all. It might just sell initially. Well, I don't want to count my chickens.
What I mean is, it's going to sell initially with your crowd, the people that have been waiting, but the rest is on promotion, and I'm sure you'll do good promoting it.
I'm sure I will. I'm like I say, I think it's worthy of me wanting to look more presentable on camera, to treat the wall behind me and make it look pretty. So that's kind of why I'm toying with the idea of, of just doing it, just biting the bullet and just doing it. Only I don't really have.
A lot of people that communicate with me want to buy one for themselves and one for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm sure people will want to gift it.
Got to have a little optimism here.
Yeah, I do. I'm optimistic, Neil.
And the amount of people saying, I ain't gonna be again, but the haters, that just fuels it, you know? That just makes me say, oh yeah, so it's gonna be a good book. They're freaking petrified.
Oh, of course. It's like an afterthought that, from the perspective of the information, my primary concern is it presented well? Is it easy to read? Right? Is it going to be keeping you reading the book or going, oh, this is so boring, I'll put it down again? But more importantly, I should have, obviously this goes without saying, that's why I'm not concerned about it, but someone would say, well, the information itself is controversial. Now, I'm diluting that fact with realistic things that cannot be discussed or disputed. When I'm writing the actual text itself, it's not of concern that what I'm putting out there is challengeable, because it's not. What you can do, argue with a freaking inch. Again, it doesn't stop people from trying, but you then get to when they say, well, you are the arbiter of the inch, and you just don't understand that inches bend. Here's a trundle wheel. You're like, okay, so you want to attempt to defy the axiomatic principle of this measurement structure. Fine. I'll just call you stupid, though. I mean, that's because you've repositioned a measurement into being something that Nathan says, so that you can attack me, so you can knock me off a pedestal, so that you can be left on a seemingly parallel pedestal that you've put yourself on. Like, no, you aren't the arbiter of an inch either. But other than dissecting that mentally, that bit where we put ourselves on pedestals so that when we knock someone off a pedestal we've put them on, we are the only one left sat on a pedestal of importance. Well, I'm taking that away from everyone at the moment. I think that little blip of people getting pissed off at me for knocking them off a pedestal that they thought they were on when they deem themselves so very important when it comes to measuring Earth flat, which we do anyway. They've all parted company with me. It's like there was a little blip in my statistics where people were like, "Get lost! I hate you! How dare you tell me I have no influence over how flat Earth gets measured? We're going to change the world." I know you're not. Ipso facto, the world's mind's eye consensus view will change, but we don't live in a consensus reality. Now, the fact that there's plenty of people out there that think that they do means that they can also think that they're going to influence the world very literally changing, when very literally nothing changes in terms of Earth's physical measurements and how they're applied. Therefore, the consequences are removed from the individual. But that individual still wants to be on the pedestal of their own making. And like I say, psychologically, they put me on one so they can knock me off it and make themselves more important than me. I'm not important. I haven't made up any of these systems and structures. I know how they're applied to Earth. I'm an expert in that. What's that? You want to tell me I'm wrong? Because I'm an expert in something that's irrefutable. Then get lost. You're not pleasant to be around. Those are the people who are deeply unpleasant generally. Obviously, I can't say carte blanche, that's a fact, because I'm sure there's people who come with a reasonable smile. But right beneath the surface of that smile, they want to call you a homo, or tell you that you're stroking each other's cock, or tell you that you need to jump off a building, or that your kids should be taken away, or they want to weaponise men in authority, real men, like the police service, to rise up against you, their perceived enemy, because you're talking about how flat Earth gets measured. It's all very sad.
Yeah, and there's a big emphasis lately on this height of eye nonsense. They refuse to comprehend, or they don't want to comprehend, that it means absolutely nothing. if you're in a freaking life raft. So it has nothing to do with curvature, but they want to keep inserting that it does.
Sure, I don't care. I mean, let them. I love introducing these examples. That's a bit too hot. When you describe what height of eye, what's height? Elevation. What's this on screen? Surface level and eye level. H marked for the height of eye. What's that measured from? Surface level, level, perpendicular, a vector in the upward direction, perpendicular to a plane of reference, like up, height, altitude. Yeah, these are all flat Earth measurements. Wonderful. Let's talk about height of eye. How do we measure that? Off the surface level, perpendicular to it. Earth's measured flat then. So we want to be measuring Earth flat to make an argument about what people who aren't them, in boats they say don't exist, do with their flat Earth measurement of height of eye. I couldn't give a shit. Yeah, the height's measured off surface level, dum-dums. This mic's still too hot. Let's turn that down a smidge. How's that? Get a little bit closer to it. Too bassy?
That's the same to me.
Yeah, I'm changing the gain as I get a bit closer, but the closer you get to a dynamic that's got a cardioid pattern, the more bass you're putting into the signal. There we go. I'm about the same as the other mic in volume now, which is the most important thing. Cool. Right, I'll come get up and walk around my back set and we're about to start live. 10 minutes. Oh, no, we've got 10 minutes. Good, good. Jolly good, jolly good. I really like this radio mic. It gives me the ability to stand up and walk around, whereas previously I was absolutely, like, lashed to the seat. Front of my mic. Not anymore. I've picked a mic that tonally matches, or, you know, not matches, complements my existing mic, the one that most people are familiar with hearing me on, the Neumann that's a couple of 3 feet away. Well, this one that's 2 or 3 inches away still sounds close enough, familiar enough for it to not be jarring when I swap mics. And it's got a nice silent switch on it. So I'm very pleased with this particular choice. I had lots more expensive mics to pick from. This one's just cheap old 80s mic from Shure. It's not a cheap mic, it's just not an expensive mic. But you can't hear the switch when I mute it. Like then, 0. I looked, the gain on my SL2 didn't budge, and neither did the one on Voice Meter Banana. So it's like, yeah, it's a literally silent switch then. Which is what I want, right? I need to be able to stand next to my speaker as I'm pacing around in the room, getting closer to the monitors. And then when someone else starts talking, be able to turn this mic in my hand off in an instant. Not by turning the transmitter off either, because that takes a second for the signal, electrical signal, to do its thing, turn off. Whereas a switch that just literally breaks a signal path with a physical switch immediately mutes the line when needed. If someone else is talking and the sound of me dragging my finger over the switch, which is the only thing that would make any noise, happens to be in the signal for a brief second, someone else is talking. That's why I wanted to mute it. But I need to be able to instantly regain control of this line and talk through whoever it is that I now need to interrupt and say, no, shut up, Neil, I'm still talking. I also like that I've got a justification for doing the acoustic treatment, because that is my, like, nerdy little thing, isn't it? Having good audio is a thing that is, you know, part of me and my personality. So wanting to sound good in this particular space, like cutting the reverb time down to the absolute minimum. There's people on the panel like Len who'll appreciate that. I'm talking about how this room's very well treated and therefore short reverb times and sounds nice in recordings. Given that you've made enough recordings, I'm sure you had plenty of occasions where you've got a singer in a really reverberant room and they've got just way too much God in their voice, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I've also used duvets and mattresses and all sorts when doing DIY recording at home years ago. So you're kitted
You break it up
quite nicely there.
Broke up a little bit towards the end. I know what you're talking about there. I've seen voiceover artists who obviously carry around a little bit of gear if they're doing a gig somewhere else away from their home studio or their home recording booth. And they'll be in a hotel room and they'll put all the you know, the mattresses around them and all the duvets and pillows around them, and basically build a little fort so they can do a quick voiceover for some client that's like, I've just got this 5 seconds that I need adding to the ad. Can you just say, buy the new Toyota for $29.99? And you're like, yeah, I can do that for 200 quid. And then they build themselves a little pillow fort in their hotel room, dig out the gear that they've got and bosh it out immediately for their client, right? You know, needs must. So building a pillow fort is essentially what I've done in a more permanent way with acoustic treatment. It's just turning the room into a giant pillow fort. As we're on the subject, and someone might listen to this and think, well, how is this useful to me? If you ever need to record anything, go and put the mic in the wardrobe with all the clothes, spread them out in a way that they're all around the mic, and then you've got a little vocal booth. And then you do your recording in there. If you absolutely must do it in a room, get the mic in the middle of the room as far away from any reflective surface and reduce the distance to the mic. That's signal to noise. The noise being the reflections off the room, the signal being your voice. Closer to your mic you are, the more you've got your signal versus the more noise of the room.
But then you've got the other side of the spectrum where people like to do vocals in showers and stuff like that for the reverberation.
I don't agree with it. I did a bit of recording in college. I mean, it's not like it was my major subject, but Eleanor, what do you want? Get out. I did a bit of recording, and I would much rather... She's knocking things off because she wants a game controller. Oh yeah, that's not what I was taught, right? What I was taught was you want as dry a signal as possible. Reverb is like the easiest thing to add, especially in the box. Don't get me wrong, in the 60s you had to have a great big plate in a room, and that was your reverb, right? An actual physical device, and in a very analog way that developed that signal to add it to, even then, a dry signal. Whereas if somebody's like, I want to record in the bathroom because I want a reverb. It's like, well, unless you record every instrument in there at the same time, everything's going to have a different reverb time. So it's not like it's going to be coherent in the mix. It's going to be awful. You're just going to have one particular element of the song with a shit ton of reverb on it that you can't get rid of and adjust in any way. That's horrible. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's just that signal, so let's say somebody goes, oh, this car park sounds good. And then they go down and just them with their mic sing a song in that very reverberant space, then you're cool, because you're essentially going straight to the bit that's going to be cut and listened to in the recording process, right? So you're cutting out all other parts that you might want to add in the signal chain, like reverb, and you've got it at source. Wonderful. But as soon as you want to add anything to it, it just all falls apart. So reverb studies is to add. You can add reverb dead easy. Effects are generally easy, right? And if you're doing it, I've never done it on this particular mic, but you know, you can do whatever you like. You know, if you want your voice to suddenly sound a bit more bonkers, you put an effect on it. But that's so easy. It's like the click of a mouse. Two minutes.
Purists like myself like analog pedals, though.
We talked about that the other day. A pedal's just a method of distorting the signal, right? There's various different ways you can distort signals. But that's all it is, a distortion. Well, reverb, when you record it, is distortion. But at source, rather than you introducing the pleasant distortion that you would like as part of your controlled signal chain. I don't know. Recording in a reverberant room's just bad. You just want it dry as a nun's vagina, so you can do whatever you like with it in the box.
How are you?
Very good, Neil. How are you? We get a hello
Everything
half
is
from Discord.
roses.
Hello, Discord. Sorry, what were we going to say, Neil, or Len, whoever it was from G+?
Yes, I was, and I said everything is roses. Hello, Discord.
Jolly good. I've mentioned on almost every microphone video I've done in the last 12 months that I want to get my acoustic treatment done behind me. I say every video, I mean every long form video. So when you're making videos in general, you're either making little shorts videos. For me, they were the accompanying video that would go on an eBay ad for a particular mic I was flogging. Well, those days are over. I've got about 10 mics left, and I've got most of them up, if not all of them up, on auction. Therefore, they'll all be cleared out hopefully by the weekend, and any that won't, i.e. they hang around, will have the price hiked up much, much higher, and they'll just end up, because they're space expensive at that point, and stuffed in a box and just left to go round and round in circles on eBay till they clear, hopefully within, I don't know, a couple of months, 2-3 months. But I've got a dozen mics left, and I was watching a Dave Murphy video literally this morning. One of the first things I did, saw his video going, "Don't worry about it," talking about the draft or something, and I sent him a message going, "Do you want a microphone? I've still got about a dozen left. I'll send you one if you like." And then I put my email address, and it just immediately got removed. So I sent him another message going, second message, "Would you like a mic?" Because Dave Murphy's obviously more subscribed to than I am, and he's generally in a very reverberant space. But as I'm going to be going on a book tour shortly, where is my book? There it is. To promote Measured Flat, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley. This being a draft version, the physical version hopefully being out sometime after its digital release, which will be very, very shortly. In terms of actual time, hopefully it'll come out by Easter. Hey, Refracted, good to have you.
Hey, how you doing?
Very good, very good. Just barking on about. I had my wife made those corrections, by the way. You've sent a load of corrections, and I've cut them and pasted them and sent them to her. And she's going to be at the sewing lesson that I published a video from a couple of weeks ago. So out on Boston Tea Party, I think is the name of the cafe in my local town. And they have a sewing lesson with a load of homeschool kids, which takes a couple of hours. But last time I did that, my wife is there today, and she doesn't have any involvement in the lesson itself. She just sit there while they have the lesson. So she's taken a laptop and is going to be reordering the 7th drafts chapters, along with making the alterations that you kindly provided with timestamps from the editing process of the particular chapter I asked you to look at. So she'll be doing that today, hopefully. So yeah, very, very, very pleased. I'm just explaining that I'm going to be doing the acoustic treatment. So rather than having like a gap here, a kind of cheap foam panels here, another different manufacturer of panel layer that's a completely different color. All of this will be uniform. That'll be a panel. This will be a panel. This will be a panel. That panel there will go in this gap, and this panel here, which is square, will go in that gap where the computer is. So that's how the room will be treated. So it'll be panel that goes up along with this corner one, and then another one directly behind me, another one behind next to that, and another one next to that, and it'll all be uniform. In that gap where there's currently a doll's house, I'm going to buy another tuned trap to treat one particular really troublesome frequency that's very, very deep, 37 hertz, and I've already got 2 of them. So behind another acoustic panel, there is you can just see the white or just off white strip. That's the tops of very, very big bass traps. I've got 2 of them that treat 40 hertz. That's what they're tuned to. The third one I get will be tuned to 37, and that'll treat that horrible frequency that rings out at that particular frequency. Like I say, it'll look a lot nicer when I'm in other people's company talking about buying All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth. Blah, blah, blah. All roads lead to a flat earth. Blah, 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 blah. What's that? No. Blah, blah, blah. All roads lead to a flat earth. That's kind of conversation that I'll be having with people. And I want the background to look nicer, this being the very first bit of the room that I treated, to get the maximum bang for buck in terms of the acoustic properties of where I sit. So behind me looking visually nice. So when I first got it done, this panel was higher and really only covered one little part of me, hence older shots look better because it was just the hexagons from one horizontal panel. Well, now I'm less fussed and I want to put my feet up, so I need to push the camera back, and I want to be able to sit like that, right? It's a more laid back show these days, and I want the camera angle to reflect that. I think it's important, as much as people are thinking, what is he babbling about? I don't give a crap what he looks like. I just talk about flat Earth.
I was just reading in chat, and Roger said he didn't get his mics yet.
Well, they're on the way. They were attempted to be delivered. This is Roger Ledwell. So I keep a track of the mics that I send out to people, and they've been sent out to various different foreign countries and eventually reach their destination. Well, in the case of Roger, it's reached the destination according to the tracking information. They attempted to make a delivery. It might be that you have to do some chasing up of it, Rog. If you need any more information, just send me an email and I'll reply with anything else I can give you. I think I did already give it you, though, the screenshot of the courier. I can give you more info, though, so you can chase it up. It might be that they want to rearrange delivery times with you when they know that you're in. But it is in your country, and as far as I'm aware, it's cleared customs. It's just waiting to be delivered to you. So whether or not that's imminent or needs chasing, I don't know, but I would chase it anyway just in case it does, with the information that I've sent you. So I did send you saying they've made a delivery attempt already, so you have hopefully had that email from me in regards to the vintage mic and decent condenser that I sent you. So that's Roger Ledwell. I've sent him a couple of mics. The other guy, 007's had his mic now. He had an SM7B copy, and he's received it and got it all wired up and working. And other than saying, I don't think it sounds that much different to my old mic, I'm like, yeah, but the old mic was electrocuting you. Hopefully this one isn't. So he's had his mic, and he was very pleased with it. I'll say with a jovial tone when I say he was saying it don't sound no different. Like, yeah, well, it's you had a good setup to begin with, and now you've got an equally good mic. Just looks a lot nicer on a Michael Jackson style yoke. Roger's picked a rather crappy 70s or 60s mic, I forget which, and I've also sent him a second one because I want him to have an actually good mic. So he's got a couple. He'll pick whichever one I'm sure he likes the best or works best with his interface that hopefully he's bought by now. But there won't be any more of that. That's something else I might as well put out there right now. If you're a videographer and you just happen to not have a decent mic and you don't know where to begin, just drop me a line. I've got about probably 10 or 12 mics left that are on eBay, and they don't owe me anything. I've made a small profit over the 12 months of flogging them now, 13 months of flogging them, and I'm happy with where I'm at. All the ones that are behind me are mine. I'm keeping all of them. They're all going to go into storage when I treat the space behind me. But the ones that are on eBay are potentially, you want a mic? Here, have a mic. And then, providing you've got an audio interface, or if you haven't, I'll tell you what to buy for 30 quid. And you're then linking a decent mic up to your computer, so your sound is better. And it's back to what I said in the pre-show. If the signal is close to you, you're cutting out more of the noise of the reflections of the room. So if you've got a really echoey sound, then having a mic that you can have in close proximity, when there's somebody who said on YouTube, if you're a fellow videographer, happen to have crap audio and would like to hopefully try and solve it with a mic, for the next month, or maybe even next couple of days, because they're all on auction at the moment, they'll come off auction, they'll end and some won't sell. But it just means that the options are more and more limited as the time progresses. And then I won't have any. People will be like, can I have one of your mics? And I'll be like, what, one of my 30 mics that currently aren't being used this second but might have a very specific task in the future? No, you can't. I offered when I had ones that were not my mics, the ones that I want to flog for a profit. And, you can have one of those. There's still some on eBay. So if you want to check out my eBay store and go, is there any chance I can have that mic on your eBay store? Like Roger, who did exactly that. He was like, I want this one. I'm like, it's not very good. He picked something out. He was like, I'll still give it you. But yeah, I'll give you whatever I've got. You can have it. And obviously, I'm not going to charge you for it. I'll just post it to you if you've got a requirement for a microphone. And I've got one that I can give up, which I currently do. So yeah, I've put that call to action out over the whole period of flogging microphones. Like, there's always been an open invitation to fellow videographers to have a free mic out of me, like 007 or Roger Ledwell when it hopefully arrives soon, or Brian or Adam. There's people who've had just a mic sent to them. In the case of Brian, I sent him a desk as well, same desk I've got, an SSL2, very nice solid state Logic desk. So, I didn't charge him. I just went, have this, it'll make your sound better, which is my only desire. If I'm watching these people or they're interacting with me on my show, I want them to sound better. And in the case of 007, I watch his show. Now, he didn't need to sound better, but he was getting electrocuted from his mic that he bought that was crap. So, I could solve that problem and did. but that won't last forever. You know, mics are very much a secondary thing that were just designed to bolster my lack of income from YouTube ad revenue as it had dropped. And I reacted to that by wanting to generate an extra source of revenue through mics. But ultimately, the benefit of that is that there's going to be a certain number of mics that are knocking around that don't owe me anything that I can give away. And in this instance, it's everything that's left on YouTube. Whatever it is that you see on there, if you're a fellow videographer and you want that item, just tell me and I'll give it you. You know, no questions asked. Anyway, that's it. I don't think there's ever going to be a time that no one will say, oh, I wish I'd have had one of your mics when you were just giving them away. Like, well, you should have been watching the show on this particular day. You weren't? Oh, well, that's hard luck. What else is there to talk about? Talked about my acoustic treatment, talked about mics, talked about the up-and-coming book a little bit. My wife's currently working on the 8th draft. My God, it's been a lot of drafts. Having the order rearranged, took advisement from some of the editorial team yesterday on which chapters would be best served in what place. All of those notes have been taken by my wife, and we've got a semi-official order of the chapters. So next task is to actually just read it in that order to see if it does make sense in that order. I can't see any reason why it wouldn't. Many of the chapters can be arranged in any way that they want to be. You know, they don't have to be in a particular order. The most important chapters being the starting chapter, the starting sentence, very important, and what the book rounds out with, like the final chapter. So in between, there's anecdotes. So as you read chapter and verse about a steady path through the subject of flat Earth via a heliocentric knowledge being unpacked from the various different aspects that we have covered throughout the years on housekeeping. In between those chapters are anecdotal chapters where I describe certain aspects of people that I've encountered, events that have taken place with those people, you know, circumstances that have befallen me as an individual, as a YouTuber covering those subjects. So it's kind of information rich. That's to say, if you're reading a chapter on gravity, you're taking away how Earth gets measured flat in a downward vector as the overarching theme, whilst explaining more intricate details of the heliocentric version of gravity that's been debated on Flat Earth debate over the years. So that's what you'd get from the gravity chapter. But in many instances, I even read it and go, this is, you know, deserving of the attention that it's had for the knowledge and information being imparted on the reader, but ultimately quite boring. You know, now we're at the other side of heliocentric inquiries. I kind of look at it in the past tense that it now is and go, kind of boring a bit. You know, it's a bit dweeby and geeky and not that exciting. And it really is the case that you look back and go, well, how can you sex that up a bit? Well, like I say, with the in-between anecdotes between the chapters that are very short, talking about people like the Rumpus and their engagement with the debate and the chaos of audio that they would cause. You know, that's a kind of anecdote that there's an interesting story to be read rather than listening to Copernicus or Aristophanes or, you know, any of the boring, dusty old heliocentric rhetoric that gets argued about past tense. So there we go. That's what's currently happening. The ordering being kind of established, and then whether or not it absolutely needs to be in that place, we'll establish when we read it through. And any minor edits that get made in the 8th draft will be the polish that the very now refined book will take before it actually gets published. Before it gets published, after it gets released to the publisher, there may be 2 or 3 steps that he needs to go through in terms of producing a cover for the hard copy. And if you're promoting it on my behalf, that's to say you're having me on your show, he'll need to speak to you, my publisher that is, so you can get your banking information so that you can automatically get paid if any of the copies that sell via the link that you publish on your show come to fruition. That's to say, obviously it automatically pays you when someone buys a copy of the book via your link that has to be created via my publisher. So that's something that also has to be done for the promotion of the book. And I think by the time that's the case, and I'm actually out on the road doing it, that's when the hard copy will come and people can buy a physical copy. You know, this being a draft, it's just, you know, it's a mocked up version. Now, good though it is to be able to physically hold something because it is complete and I can just print it out, it isn't going to be like that when it finally comes out in a hard copy, be it paperback or hardback. That's something else that hasn't been developed yet. I've asked him, can you send me the template at the size that you expect the hard copy to be? And I'll start working on it in the template dimensions that my publicist passes back to me, if he's got that information at all. I don't know how he does it. I haven't discussed it with him. Same goes for the hard copies. I haven't discussed them with him because I hadn't got the material to actually give him to say, what do we do about this being a hard copy? But those are the sorts of questions I'll be asking him when I next speak to him. What else can I tell people? That's about it. Where are we at? 20 minutes into the show. We can talk about whatever we want now. I think I've done with all my admin. Mike's,
Hey, Nathan, I got 4 questions for you. It's going to be quick, though.
Yeah, feel free.
Okay, first on the book, is there a release date? And also, when you say promotion, are you going to other servers to debate, or how are you doing the promotion?
Going to other servers to debate isn't promoting my book, is it? The way the book will be promoted is by other channels that have me on to talk about the book. So I've got a whole list of people that I read out yesterday, I won't read it out again today, that will be contacted with the view to having me on their show and having an affiliate link so that they can have the means for their audience to purchase the book, with them making a cut of the profits of the book sale that they make through their link. But obviously their link has to be set up. Therefore, there's a certain amount of communication that has to take place before I go on someone else's show so that they're in a position to make money from my book if it sells via their link. So that is obviously it's 5 minutes work. It's not like it's a big deal. The system, the affiliate program that is already working with other authors. So it's not like it's going to be new to me. It's just I'll be incorporating that into the process of publicising my book on other people's shows. I'll obviously have my own affiliate link as soon as the release date comes, which is hopefully on track for being Easter. So that's when, at the very least, there should be a digital copy available, or as somebody suggested a couple of days ago, it might be that I put out an ability to pre-order hard copies if you want a physical copy of the book. I don't know how that'll be done. Again, it's something I'll discuss with the publisher when I next speak to him. So Easter's the date. What was the third question?
Oh, that was only the first question.
Oh, fair enough.
The second question is the microphones you're talking about. Is there a link?
No, you just have to find your way to my eBay store or tell me that you've got a desire to have one, and I'll just pick one for you. But just drop me an email. My email address is below this live video. If you're a videographer, that is. Not just random person that wants a mic.
Get the question 2.
Okay, third one. This is going to get a little spicy, but someone did a poll. I'm going to give you 5 names. Tell me who you hate the most, okay?
What?
I'm going to give you 5 names in the arena, and you tell me who you hate the most.
I don't hate anybody. I don't have hatred for anybody. Hate's a really strong emotion. If you say that's not true. I've used it to ham up me talking about the dweebs recently when I'm like, we hate you. Okay, well, yes, when I'm being dramatic, I'll use that word. But in sincerity, I couldn't give a shit about any of these people. Hate is such a strong emotion, right? Now, there was an ex-employer. I can name on one finger somebody that, past tense, I hated. One person. One. Now, I'm not going to name that particular individual, but there was one person that I can say with hand on heart, I had a genuine hatred for that person. But that was, even now, I don't feel that towards that person. I'm like, in the past, right? But with that being disclaimed, go ahead, list your list. We'll just.
So is it a dislike? Is that a better word to use?
Fine, that's fine.
All right. Bev, Elderbear, Rob Nauseous, McToon, or Simon Dan. There you go.
I don't hate any of them. So for the most part, I'd go in terms of their usefulness. So I know that's kind of absolutely the antithesis of what you're asking. It's how much do they offer to the actual production that I put on a daily basis. Well, Elderbear actually goes to the top of the list currently, right? His interactions with us, despite him being a loathable, low-value human being, doesn't change that he affords us the opportunity to talk about how Earth's measured flat currently. That actually has a certain, I can't believe I'm saying this, value proposition attached to it. The same applies to Bev. Now, Rob Noxious is just an obnoxious human being who's also quite low in terms of his intellect. So he doesn't offer anything to the show. So that would bump him to the bottom of the list, right to the bottom. Then you've got McToon and Simon Dan. Well, Simon Dan, bravo, Simon Dan. He put out a video about the drama of being screwed over by 2 members of my editing team. Now, I call those adverts. Thanks, Simon Dan. Couldn't be more appreciative of the fact that obviously you're not going to touch how the contents of the book forms the measurements of Earth and its flat surface, but the people involved with the production of the book was something Simon Dan could actually latch onto. I mean, that's a testament to Dan, the kind of person he is and the kind of way he covers this subject. He covers the flat Earth, that's people in it, and their interactions. Like my in-between chapters that are done for Lite, that's Dan's whole shtick towards us, right? Those are the things he can cope with and get his teeth into. But as a consequence, he's made an audience aware that I've got a book coming out. So, I mean, again, that would put Dan at the top of the list of usefulness. Yeah? And then McToon I don't really follow, so I can't really comment. Now, he's a bit of a scummy human being, but for that reason I wouldn't want to be associated with him, which is why I can't really answer, because I don't know. I'm often shocked when I hear some of the people's comments about him to me. I'm like, bloody hell. I mean, he sounds despicable as a person, but that doesn't, because I don't think about him or interact with him very much. I mean, he called me up from Antarctica to tell me he was measuring Earth flat. But again, that was for a very limited amount of time, reasonably useful. So in terms of how useful they are to me, probably Dan's at the top of the list. He's promoting my current book. Yeah, the one that I say is going to be amazing, Dan. This one, yeah? Can I have another advert? That'd be wonderful. So Dan's at the top of the list, but with 2 thumbs up, right? Followed by Bev, followed by Elder Bear. McToon is a wild card. I don't know where to slip him into the list. Bottom of the list would be the useful twat that is Rob Noxious. So there you go. Is that a satisfactory? It's probably not what you were expecting, because I'm telling you the order of how much I like them based on their usefulness.
Yeah, and then the last thing was I was on McToon's show, and I asked him if we would like to see a debate between you and him, and then he's willing to do it. So.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I mean, link is below this video if you want to come and talk to me. Like when you were in Antarctica, you desired my company and sought out my opinion about where guns were. Now, you didn't like me telling you that you were measuring Earth flat for the literal 100th time when I reactively dealt with Toon because he liked to be in my comments. I mean, he's a big fan of Nathan Oakley, like hundreds of comments on Nathan Oakley videos. He likes me. Like I say, I'm indifferent. I don't watch him, right? And as a human being, he's been described to me as pretty scummy. But that doesn't alter that he's a big fan of the show. Like, literally, I can say without question, he's made at least 100 comments because I've responded to all of them and counted them when I pointed out how flat he measured Earth. I said the same to him verbally when he utilised the link below. Like, clicked on it and then talked to me directly about there not being any guns there. I mean, that's wonderful and all, but I particularly liked how he deflected to the measurements. That comment about me talking about measurements of flat Earth that he was making at the time. So, yeah, from that point of view, great. If you want to debate, what are we going to debate, though? How flat you measured Earth for your 10K challenge? How flat you measured Earth for your Antarctic elevation angles? How flat Earth is measured by everyone always and without exception? That's not really up for debate. But you're welcome to join. Like I say, the link is always available.
So who are that people? What are willing to speak with you?
I just changed mics. What did you say, Sasha? One more time.
Who are that people who are willing to speak with you? Who they are?
I don't know yet. I haven't contacted a soul. I've got a list. All I'm doing at the moment is asking people to...
Who is that science man, Dan? Who is that McToon? Who they are? Are they important for something?
No. I mean, they're delusional, like I was 10 years ago. I mean, I don't want to put a detriment to Simon Dan in this regard, but 10 years ago, I thought I was of importance when I was tracking the sun on a Flat Earth Live, doing 2 24-hour separate events where we tried to keep the sun at zenith or at 90 degrees elevation angles off a flat Earth. To what? Change the world? It didn't change anything. Well, likewise, there are our opposites who will be unnamed, Simon Dan, who, also measured elevation angle measurements of the sun For
Hold
what
on.
purpose? They didn't change anything. They're not important. It didn't do anything, did it? We've not got a new calendar
Since
out
you-
of him or anything, have we? Unless I'm not a big enough fan of Simon Dan to know that he hasn't developed any systems or revolutionised timekeeping or, I don't know, what have they actually achieved? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Well, since you're talking about that, there's somebody in chat that says they're asking us if we observe the stars and what do we think. And then they say, first, we can treat the sky and our longitude and
What does we?
latitude to
Hold on,
be
there's two
relative
parts.
to a
Hold on.
celestial sphere.
They're asking us
and
whether or
pre-
not we observe the stars and what we think. Why? We've just literally had Sasha asking us of what consequence these third parties are. Well, let's bring it back to me. What consequence am I? Why do you want my opinion about the stars? Do I have some value to offer? Am I about to track them? Have I produced an almanac? Am I about to revolutionise timekeeping or navigational structures or systems that we acquired the angles with? Am I going to do none of the above? The answer is yes. I will do none of the above. None of the above is of consequence to me, and I have no control over those things that I've just listed. But this person wants to appeal to me, so psychologically I can be put up on a pedestal. So then when he or she knocks me off it, they feel that they've got a contrasting pedestal that they remain on. Because in their mind, what? Consensus reality? If we debate about it and you're proven correct by proving me wrong, that means you have a bearing on what the stars do. You don't. God created them. How they're useful is to measure them with flat Earth elevation angles so we don't die in navigation terms. I can detail that as a subject matter expert, but I'm not the arbiter of those measurements and what the sun and stars do. Nor am I producing any time systems. I mean, neither are any of my counterparts. Dan hasn't produced a new system. Just name him. Dan didn't achieve anything with his 1,000 flat Earth elevation angle measurements of the sun. He didn't revolutionise the world. He didn't change a single soul's mind about anything, in fact. So he didn't achieve anything. But neither did I when I tracked the sun 10 years ago. In my own grandiose way, I thought I was changing the world because I was delusional. Yeah? But in reality, these people aren't doing it. So the people who now, current tense, come to us and say, what do you think about the stars? Why? Why are you putting me up on some pedestal? Oh, right, you value me, do you? You want me? Piss off, we despise you. You're just a snot-nosed, adenoidal dweeb trying to put me on a pedestal so you can knock me off it. It's not like we're not unfamiliar with how you behave. We know your MO. What was the other half, Neil?
Well, they were saying that that relative to a celestial sphere and predict what we see in the sky accurately.
Sorry, what we? I haven't produced the celestial sphere. Are these people thick? Are they not listening to the words coming out of my mouth? Do I need to speak slower? On screen, celestial sphere from a projected sphere Earth with a tangent plane to be transposed inside a radial value 3959 equatorial plane for a later projection out to the celestial sphere. Notice how concisely I can describe this diagram on screen. That's because I'm an absolute expert on it. What's that? What do I think about it? I don't give a shit. I didn't create it. Me being able to describe it accurately, I'm not going to steal the valour of the people who created heliocentrism and derive these systems that measure Earth flat. I'm just pointing out how flat Earth gets measured with them. I'm not responsible for them, though, you stupid idiots. Are you deaf?
Yeah, she used longitude and latitude. So they're skipping right over flat Earth and want to know what's going on in the sky. And they may say it makes predictions. And have I missed what your position is on the moon or something to that effect? What do we care about the moon?
We don't have one. What are you talking about? Are you about to develop a new calendar? You're going to mould the 13 lunar cycles into something other than a 12-month calendar? I mean, if you're going to do that, go ahead. Be our guest. Why are you asking me about it? I do not take ownership of the Gregorian calendar, nor do I take any ownership of the tracking of the moon with flat Earth elevation angles or the production of the time system using the sun and elevation angles to it. None of those things are my responsibility. Knowing how to detail them doesn't mean that somehow you can, like I say, see that as me being the arbiter of them because I understand them and can detail them verbally. I'm not in any way in charge of this stuff. It doesn't belong to me. Being able to verbalise what it is and how Earth gets measured flat for it doesn't mean I'm going to offer you, a snot-nosed, irritating dweeb, anything. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve our time. You don't deserve to be here. Most of you are genuinely obnoxious. and people that you wouldn't want to spend time in the company of. Now, the way that I'm being asked this question via Neil, there's a link below, you bunch of cowards. Feel free to join like McToon joined, so we can tell him, oh, you measure Earth flat with those elevation. What's that? It's about guns? Okay. Good lad. Yeah, it's about guns. Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. We will take the piss out of you for the entertainment of my audience, for my financial benefit. But as for just asking me what my opinion is of someone else's system they developed with flat Earth angles, it's stupid. It's like you think you've got some bearing on it, and when you project that belief onto me, you put me on a pedestal that you can knock off so that you can seem right when you make me wrong. And we will just dissect this pathetic little attitude you low-value men have got. You don't have a value in this regard. Trying to escalate yourself to having one is sad, right? Now, if I can cope with how ineffectual I am in regards to this subject, so must you. Yeah, I've got that humility. You don't seem to like it. You still want me to be in a position. I'm disclaiming. I don't own this stuff. It's not mine. I'm not responsible for it. What? But you talk about it. Yeah, well, I'll talk about whatever I like. You just seem concerned about what Nathan Oakley talks about, though, and that's kind of creepy and sad. Don't worry about what I'm talking about, unless you're my friend. Otherwise, piss off. Well, you don't like the flat Earth that gets measured for these systems. Go and appeal to the people who made them, then. Me pointing it out is not going to get you the ability to suddenly come along and challenge what Nathan Oakley says. Me saying it doesn't mean anything. Me saying an inch is flat doesn't change what an inch is. You understand? I didn't come up with the systems. I don't measure Earth flat with them. Neither do you. They just are flat Earth measurements.
They claim they're not trying to knock anybody off a pedestal. They just try to understand why you think what you think, Nathan.
But they're very concerned about what Nathan Oakley thinks. Like I just said, yeah, I don't care what you're concerned about when it comes to me. Yeah, stop concerning yourself with me, right? Are you worried about how Nathan thinks? I think I'd rather take one of your eyes out, because at this point, you're not our friends. You're not concerned with what Nathan Oakley thinks. I know the psychology of popping me on a pedestal so that when you make me wrong, you believe you're right. Yeah? Saying, oh, it's not like that. It's just that we are very concerned about what you as an individual think. Yeah, I'm not having any consequence on how flat Earth gets measured. You don't understand. It's not about consensus, whether or not we agree or I convince the audience. It's irrelevant. Those days are over, right? Nobody agreeing about how flat a mile is will change how flat a mile is. Everybody agrees that it's bent. Okay, but it isn't. And having a consensus on the matter won't change anything. You don't have to like how flat Earth gets measured. It's just not my responsibility. Me saying you don't have to like how, quote, flat Earth gets measured doesn't mean that suddenly I become responsible for your pain in that regard. But you're very concerned about what I say. I say how flat it gets measured because it does. You don't have to like it. Don't worry your precious little heads about how Nathan's thinking this or that. Don't worry about my thoughts, you creepy little man. Go away and find people who like you. It's not me. I don't like you.
They even get this. I Nathan. They even get this help. Even when they think they've got a gotcha on you, they haven't. For example, I was speaking to someone yesterday about going through the celestial navigation process of getting the observer's eye down to sea level, the GP down to sea level, and that being a horizontal straight line for the radius for the circle of equal altitude. And the next question was, well, if that's the case one day, you should be able to give us the altitude of the sun. Now, he's dropped himself in it there because altitude is in reference to sea level. So the moment he says altitude of anything, it's in reference to a flat horizontal plane called sea level. So even his gotcha's got himself.
But he's popping you on a pedestal, so now you become the arbiter of the sun's height. No, you don't. But when you can't, they've made you wrong, knocked you off that pedestal, which means in their mind they're de facto correct. That's what they're doing. It's a sad little psychological game that they're playing. Now we've got time to not concern ourselves with how flat Earth gets measured. We already know. It's kind of old news for us. So what is more interesting for us at this point? Psychoanalyzing these dweebs. You need to talk about what Nathan thinks, or how you've just put one deck on a little pedestal where he becomes the arbiter of the sun's height. Yeah, what? So you can tell him that if he doesn't give it you, he's wrong and therefore knocked off, and therefore you are the only one remaining on this pedestal. You don't have any bearing on what the sun is. You stupid little dweebs.
Well,
Be fun to analyse.
Starry Clara 96 is insistent with these stars. So she says, go in the direction of a star's GP, and the amount that star rises will determine the rest, as if you are turning a sphere around you.
No, that's a glorified protractor. The angle that you're measuring to the star is what it's rising by. The degree is the flat plane and the angle to the star increasing or decreasing with respect to the plane of the horizon part of the angle. What she's describing is a delusion that the arc of the protractor you measure that with is the globe that she's stood on. You're not. Even if you infer that you've still got an extra protractor on a tangential plane to a point that no longer has a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon because you're at the tangent point, you'll still transpose that flat Earth measurement, which ipso facto must be. It's an angle. You're describing an angle measurement. That's not a curve of you inside a ball moving around you, you dumbass. That's the angle with respect to the plane that the height of that light moves through. The elevation angle measurement. That's a degree. Two straight lines. One's the ground, one's the surface level. It's a flat Earth measurement, you dumbass. You think you're in a protractor, do you? No, you just don't understand how Earth gets measured. What's that? I must be able to give you the sun's... Fuck off. Get out of my sight, you stupid retard. You don't understand this stuff, and you think you're inside a glorified protractor that they've called Ball Earth because they taught it you in school. You are an idiot. Me, I've given you more than you deserve of my time, explaining how you're not inside a protractor, you're using it to measure the surface level. It's part of the angle, you dumbass. When you describe the degree of that light, the degree is you at the vertex measuring an angle to it. Yeah? With respect to the ground, it's an elevation angle. Elevation means with respect to the ground. That's part of the angle. Now you've had my time and education with my disdain for a retard, whoever this person was. Somebody stupid who dares to challenge us about something they've not studied. They think they're in a protractor? Idiot! The curve of the protractor has nothing to do with the degrees you're measuring. Surface level does, it's an elevation angle, it's flat. So go and learn about this subject before you start telling us how we will go and do things. And notice how this started with us being told to do something? No! You don't get to tell us what to do. You get slapped around the face if you're in front of me. Go and measure the bang! No, go and bleed! That's what you'll be doing if you start telling me what I'll be doing. No, don't tell me to go and measure anything. You stupid clown. How dare you? Yeah? Now you need to start demanding what I'll go and measure while you're online with your brave pills. Because you get a slap around the face if you started making demands of me in my actual company. How fucking dare you? You get a spray of saliva all over you, shouting at you after you made your demands of what I'll go and measure. And if you didn't take the hint with a very stern look, yeah, you'd get a slap. That's what you'd get, you stupid clown.
That's what, Nathan. This is where they're getting mixed up. We spoke the other day, that protractor is called the curved edge. That's what the referencing of the degrees are. And the straight edge of the protractor, its proper name is the 0 degree baseline, which is horizontal. So basically, it's just like a big Earth, but the back of the protractor is the perspective view of the stars, and the 0 degree baseline is sea level.
This person was starting a discussion, or his discussion, with telling us what we need to go and measure. Now I've got something to tell you to go and do. Yeah? Now you need to go and find people who don't despise you. Yeah? That's what you need to do. Now I'm giving you demands and orders. Go and find friends. We despise you for your ignorance. Thinking that you're inside the curved edge of the tool that you measure straight lines with respect to Earth's flat surface for elevation angles to lights and their degree measurements. You are a disgrace to this group, and we don't want you around us. So when I say, what's that? I need to go and measure something. No, you need to go and find friends. We aren't them. We think you're very stupid indeed. So don't hang around with us. We despise you. with your demands to go and measure things, which we won't be doing. We'll be detailing how flat an angle you think you reside in the protractor you're measuring it with is, while we look at you with disgust.
That's funny. Well, the last thing I'll give is but Michael Kahn says it's not a she, it's a new sock. The problem is that a flat Earth protractor will fail. But if you think there is one on flat Earth, the sky is a celestial sphere.
Again, they're worried about what we're thinking about. You creepy little low-value man. Why are you worried about what other men are thinking? Don't worry about what we're thinking. We hate you. Listen to the words coming out of our mouth. Go away. We don't like your company. Is that not clear enough? Oh, you're one of them. You get off on being told how much people despise you. Yeah, this is as good as it gets for you. That's why you're online. In reality, you would actually have the piss beaten out of you by people who are despising you because you're rude, telling people what they'll be going and doing, rather than listening to how ignorant you are. Listening to how you've been told you're not welcome and then buggering off to find like-minded friends like I'm telling you to do. I know you're not doing it. You're still here, imagining what we're thinking. It's creepy. Very, very creepy. You're a low-value person. That's what you are. Make no mistake about it. Sadistic. Not sadistic. The word's masochistic. Get that wrong for the last week. Drop the drama for a second to make a minor correction in my English language. These people are masochists.
No, it's your problem, Nathan. You don't like superheroes.
On the fight for justice, one man can make sure everybody knows the angle we measure is the curve of the protractor. Truth, spirit, the American justice system. And if anyone causes me trouble, I'll be calling real men to help me. I am Batman. Or, more likely, Batman's spot-nosed cousin.
Well, if you're going to get... Hold on. If you're going to get American,
Just a second, Neil, I will forget it. It was important yesterday. I was driving the car, and then we were speaking about the Batman. And I thought, who will be Batman today? And do you know what happened? There was a guy crossing the street with a Batman shirt. I was dying.
Wonderful. Now, since we're talking about Batman and American heroes, one has just died. There will be no more Chuck Norris jokes.
Oh, Chuck Norris died.
Yeah. I thought the guy was never going to die.
That's not possible.
Yeah, that should be what goes on the internet. Chuck Norris dead. That's not possible.
There's a load of Chuck Norris glowbed jokes, like when Chuck Norris starts running, it's not that he moves along the ground, it's the force of him moves the ground underneath him. Things like that.
It's against the natural law.
Like Chuck Norris got bit by a venomous snake and the snake died.
Yes. There's got to be a few more Chuck Norris jokes coming our way for this show. What a shame. Everybody loves Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris sitting in front of ChatGPT, and do you know what happened?
I don't know, does Snake bite Chuck Norris?
No, ChatGPT asked, Chuck Norris, can I ask you a question?
The context, you don't really follow you. Fine. Wonderful.
Back to the dweeb, telling us go and do this and go and do that and find some this and find some of that. Why doesn't he go and find his his so-called globe measurement that isn't, find a globe measurement, a so-called globe measurement that isn't horizontal?
Well, that's an impossibility. And they said, okay, I don't need this. Thought this could be an actual conversation. Bye-bye, Starry Clara 96.
On a live stream that has an open door and a voice chat. You thought that it'd be a conversation via notes passed under the bog cubicle door. No, I mean, surprisingly, we didn't enjoy that kind of conversation and interaction. Yeah, real men don't communicate that way.
Yeah, there was another guy that came in, but I timed him out. His name was Not Measured Flat. And he just wouldn't respond to anything, just kept saying, no, it's not. It's not flat. But, okay, so how do you measure it? Not
Why do you
flat.
care? Well, that's where you're going wrong.
Neil.
Well, how do you measure it? I don't care how these people measure it. Someone comes along with a chat name, not measured flat. Okay, so were you about to measure it? What were you doing currently is your question. What are you going to do future tense might be your question to them. Me, I'm like, okay. This person had absolutely no bearing on it. Like, it's not going to matter that this guy's created accounts. Let's say he creates 1,000. They believe they're in a consensus reality where if they can convince enough people who read that chat name that it's not measured flat, that will alter how Earth gets measured. Me saying
Exactly.
it gets measured flat doesn't alter surface level, sea level, parallel eye level, elevations, elevation angle measurements, all of these flat Earth prerequisites that are utilised in a practical way by people on a daily basis will not change if I'm saying it or not. If you come along, by contrast, yeah, because in his mind he needs to tell my audience that it's not measured flat, like the anti-Nathan Oakley rhetoric. No, I don't need this rhetoric. It wouldn't matter if I didn't tell you or my audience that it is measured flat, because it's measured flat regardless of me saying it or not. Again, psychologically, if I can convince Nathan's audience Nathan's wrong, then that alters anything. No, we're not in a consensus reality. The horizon does not care if you appreciate what it's formed with. The altitude doesn't care if you reject perpendicularity as a principal measurement from sea level. Flight level couldn't give two fucks if you say no, it's not parallel with the ground, measured from sea level. You don't accept. Nobody gives a fuck. The planes are still flying. The surveyors have already produced the maps. A mile is literally just going to be flat regardless of what you say about it. You're not going to get to argue with a mile. So what? The next best thing is to argue with a man who says a mile's flat. It is. It doesn't matter if I say it or not. Like I say, but in their mind, if we stop him saying it, we win. Win what? A caravan weekend holiday? No, you don't get anything, you stupid idiots.
Especially the caravan holiday that one deck had. 1 second, because the bottom line is all he wanted to do is get that out there. And then he has a $5,000 bet. If you give Nathan a sextant location, I bet he couldn't tell me where it was. So this is all we're getting.
Sounds like McToon.
No, but I'm just wondering.
Sounds like McToon.
I'm just wondering, like,
McToon came along with his exact same rhetoric in my comments. That's to say, I'm having to be reactive to Toon in this scenario. While he comes along 99 times in text form, saying, well, what if you use these flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to find your position in my 10K challenge? You know, like, your 10K challenge is a flat Earth measurement. It's using degrees. Positional information measured from a flat Earth, their elevation angles. I had pointed that out to this guy, Toon. Not the guy in chat. He's a different guy. Maybe it's Toon in the soccer account. It doesn't matter. The point being that Toon himself, with his own name, Brave Pills Not Needed to Chat Skank, was pointing out how his use of flat Earth measurements disproves how flat Earth is. That's idiotic. Now, when you've got that being pointed out to you 100 times, the 100th being from Antarctica while you're measuring those elevation angles for your own benefit, like angles off the surface, a degree measurement to the sun. That's a flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle in degrees that requires Earth be flat to measure it. It is that simple. Now, in response to that, do we get, no, I will now disagree with what a fucking angle is? Or did we get, he tried to deflect with measurements, where are the guns, Nathan? Which did we get? The measurements
We got
are flat.
the guns, baby.
Yeah, but the guns, who gives a shit? The measurements are flat. Nobody gives a crap about the guns. The fact that they can escort people away from Antarctica at gunpoint is a fact also. But also a red herring that we could chase down so that we don't have to talk about the measurements. This particular individual in my example, McToon, as he was brought up as though I hate him. No, he's got very useful flat Earth measurements. I mean, he doesn't want to acknowledge them when he's coming to my channel as a big fan hundreds of times to tell me about how flat he's measuring Earth. Or is he here to tell me I'm a child abuser? Or is he here to tell me that there's no guns in Antarctica? I don't know. Whatever distracts away from the fact we're measuring Earth flat with elevation angles from surface level. We are. To fly to Antarctica, you fly in straight and level flight. You're told to fly at a flight level by the ground controller when they ascribe you a corridor with a flight height. And they tell you to be at 35,000 feet, you're going to be there, or you'll have the FIA all over you. It is, ipso facto, parallel with surface level. These things aren't changing because I'm talking about them or because somebody comes along to the chat and starts betting another man $5,000 that, if you go and utilise flat Earth elevation angle measurements for positional information, you'll prove how flat it isn't. It's just idiots.
Yeah, they always want to skip past the flat Earth that they use. It's the same thing all the time.
Let 'em. You're welcome to it. What's that? You want to show how ball-shaped the world is, and in order to do it, you need to derive minimum elevation angles for a radial value that you can suggest is sphere-shaped. Do it. Good for you. I mean, I understand what that's actually produced, though, usefully. Like how we've got orbital motions to describe the epicycles that they were struggling with, and call them retrograde motion. I understand how elliptical orbits square circles, and they've scaled the entire distance that you thought you were travelling to the moon with by one man saying, well, Venus is the same size as Earth just because I say so. I understand these things. It's completely arbitrary. The systems that you believe can be reified into a physical sphere to stand on. Well, no. It's a violation of the base principle measurement of Earth being a flat plane to give you things like angles to stars in the first place. Earth's measured flat to produce these systems that they now fight with us. Like, if only I had a complete consensus and Nathan Oakley wasn't saying we took elevation angles to derive radius. You did. Nothing will change because I'm not saying how flat Earth got measured to produce a ball for you to believe in. Those are facts. The fact you're too lazy to find it out for yourself and would rather, just form the consensus by getting rid of some flat earther who knows how flat Earth got measured to produce a heliocentric worldview? Getting rid of me won't change how flat Earth was utilised to produce these angles used in heliocentrism to produce a ball that you think you're standing on now after reification. The reification violates the base principle measurement. Now, I can't change that. I can't change how flat Earth must be measured to produce a ball. I can't change that. Now, you think shutting me up will somehow form the consensus, make the ball come back to reality. It won't. It wasn't. It's a maths for describing movements of light. That's what heliocentrism is. An outside-of-the-box way of violating the base principle angle measurements to produce elliptical motion of a ball Earth moving around the sun. Heliocentric. Sun at centre. Well, the sun isn't at the centre. It's ludicrous. But the maths that puts it there is flat Earth measurements of it. You don't have to like it. I am not the arbiter of this. It doesn't mean I've suddenly got an opinion on how fucking high the sun is because you ask me after I tell you about what I've spent 10 years studying. No, it doesn't mean I owe you anything. And it doesn't mean if I stop saying it, it'll alter how flat Earth got measured to produce a ball. And therefore the ball is just what we're really standing on anyway. Let's just ignore how flat the measurements are. Yeah, we have to use degrees. Yeah, it doesn't matter they're flat. Let's just not worry about that. How do you explain it on a flat Earth? Well, with the flat Earth angles that you measured in. No, we're not going to talk about them. We've already got them. Okay, go away and keep them. I don't care. You're just too deeply concerned about what's going on in my head. Because your concern isn't about how flat Earth got measured for your ball. It's how I'm saying it. Sad. Very sad. Did any of you guys happen to watch the behavioural panel clip that I sent yesterday at the 4-minute mark? I suspect that Chase Hughes either is a anti-glober or a flat earther. Because on the behavioural panel, without any context or introduction to the subject, negative or positive, they suddenly started just talking about how flat earthers do things. And I watched it 4 times, And the only way I could square the circle of them bringing it into the discussion at that moment contextually was if one of their own was a flat earther. And the person who responded was Chase Hughes with the comment, "Show me the curve, bro." Now, when I heard it, I was like, show me the curve? If he's talking about how flat earthers behave, surely a quip about how flat earth is would be the right response, as opposed to how globe earth it isn't would be the right response. But, I mean, Chase Hughes is subject to the same propaganda everyone else is exposed to, even though he often is one to expose it. So the fact that he went with a show me the curve, if he is said flat earther, is a bit disappointing, but expected, you know.
How about I can show you the measurements instead of show me the curve?
I don't need anybody showing me anything. The curve is derived from flat earth measurements. So you're not going to show the suggestion that someone should be showing someone else curvature of Earth's surface is to move past the creation of a mathematical ball from flat Earth measurements and then ask, once everybody understands how reifiable that is, that's to say putting into existence something that doesn't really exist, and then ask how we don't see an aspect of that already in existence reification of a sphere Earth. It's like, it's convoluted, but ultimately it's a question for the negative. Show me something that doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. Curve exists in maths. The ball Earth maths, that's where it exists. Right next to the surface level that needs to be measured for the height of eye. That's what's measured though, Earth, and its flat surface level for your height of eye. That's the measurements. The ball Earth's curvature only exists in the maths.
Right.
Just saying, like, if all the oceans are connected and that's the 0 degree baseline for all elevation profiles on Earth, you're not going to see any curvature there, are you?
It's not about what you're not going to see in terms of curvature. I'll just say it once more, right? Number one, if I'm a Ford guy, I don't say, show me how crap a Chevy is. I just go, Fords are great. Now, if someone says, well, you're a flat earther, you go, yeah, because Earth is flat. That is the most simplistic way to break it down. If you are a flat earther, then flat, that's having no part higher or lower, being level, flat. Earth should be the order of the day. Someone says, you're a flat earther. Well, show me the curvature? Why? That makes no sense to me. But you've been programmed to offer a response. This is Chase Hughes, if he is said flat earther. I might be barking up the wrong tree and reading way too much into a comment that I didn't understand, but it made the edit of their video, so I'm going to respond to it. It's like, if you're not talking to him, you're talking to a stereotype of a flat earther, then fine. Well, I'll be your Huckleberry, my friend. Yeah? Well, I'll show you the curvature as far as your panel member's concerned, but he's not an outright flat earther, I am. To produce a curvature for you to ask where it's reified into existence, you must first measure Earth flat, with angles to the lights in the sky off surface level. They're called elevation angles. That's how heliocentrism is born. The curve that you think that might exist, based on a panel member who isn't potentially a flat earther, might be Chase Hughes, then I say no. You don't respond with asking somebody else to show their claim of a ball. If you're being challenged as a flat earther, it's no big deal, bro. Earth's just measured flat. For everyone, always, and without exception. Including but not limited to people who believe there is a mathematical curve to the surface after violating the base measurements of surface level to produce that out-of-the-box thinking 500 years ago by the Roman Catholic Church to explain away epicycles. Now that isn't show me the curve. That's Earth's measured flat. Because it is. For them and their ball belief, which I wouldn't be talking about if I wasn't being asked to show some curve. No. Those days are long gone. The curve, that's claimed to be a physical geometric spheroid horizon at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's measured height off surface level. Well, you're going to need to measure your height off surface level in a vertical aspect perpendicular to a plane of reference. That's what altitude is. So Earth gets measured flat 6 ways from Sunday before you get to even believe you're on a ball to ask where the curve is. That's my nod to Chase Hughes if he is a flat earther. That's all you need to know. For someone who exposes propaganda, in this case Chase Hughes, know when you're being subject to it if you are that flat earther. If you're not, well then this is just a useful bit of information to you personally, Chase. Earth's measured flat, mate. Just in case you're not a flat earther and you didn't realise, or you are, but you think you need to be looking for where curve is or asking others for it. You don't. It's measured flat to produce that curve. It's right there in the curve maths, in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking earth curve mathematics, labelled surface level. Can't bend or eye level won't be parallel with it, and you won't be able to derive a dip after calculating your height off surface level. That's what you need for those maths. Also could be a physical measurement of the surface level if you want to measure it for something practical, like height of a plane from sea level so you don't crash into the ground. That's pretty important. They shout it out to the pilots when they tell them to ascend. That's talking about altitude perpendicular to a plane of reference to a certain flight level, parallel with sea level. Those things are axiomatically required to fly across God's flat surface of Earth. I'm done.
Yeah, but see, the whole thing is, all right, say this topic whenever it started, whenever it got hot and heavy. You're like in the 5th grade. So that's the first thing you're looking for is curvature. So some people still have not graduated to the next grade, 6, 7, 8. They're still looking for the curvature. They show me the curve. I hear it all the time. I'll pass through certain Discord servers and I'll hear them asking the same questions. Debunking a globe, pissing or shitting on a globe to prove their point that Earth is flat. So I guess it's a graduation period. A lot of people are not up to speed, and he just sounds like one of them to me.
I mean, maybe that is the case. I mean, if that is the case, there is a remedy to that. I mean, the main remedy that I can think that would offer a solution to that is to, when available, go out and buy Nathan Oakley's book, Measured Flat, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth, as it will explain precisely how flat Earth gets measured for someone to ask where the curve is after measuring Earth flat 6 ways from Sunday. So that would be my remedy when it comes available. Maybe the behavioural panel should be someone I add to my list to go out and promote my book, All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth by Nathan Oakley, when it's available. We shall see. But with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow.
You know who it'll be. You know who it is.
Bad.
Chuck
Be the
Norris?
bear, won't it? Not that it matters, but anyway, I'm thinking of changing my name actually from On Deck to Please Could I Have a Pay Rise and see if that works.
Wishful thinking. Yeah, it's the same exact. Your comedy works because it's the same standard. It's called wishful thinking. Yes.
Yeah, that guy was in. He was saying he's got a book written and it's in for him, but now he's still working on it. So which one is it? Obviously, you're not paying attention, dummy. If you pay attention, you understand. But you're not paying attention. You're just looking to take a shot at Nathan.
Yeah, but look how not interested they are in the subject, and Nathan.
Yeah, totally not interested. Especially
Not
Edit there,
interested,
sending me messages in the middle of the freaking night. I put one in Master B. Well, that was actually this morning. I got to watch out for you, Nathan, because when you turn on me, you're going to have a name for me. I think he's referring to yesterday's show with Sleeping Warrior, how you were calling him fat. And then he names all the people that freaking you now have derogatory things to say about. So what happens when you fall out with him, Neil? Edit Bear, go to sleep somewhere.
That's what you do when people don't have your best interest at heart. So Anthony Riley is buddy-buddy with people who have thieved from me, supporting them. Now, I asked him for a bit of advice, and his advice was, give the thieves what they want. That was his advice. Now he gets called a fat cunt, because he is. Anthony, if you're listening to this, I've got a camera to do it. Anthony, you're a fat cunt. Yeah, and I never want you to ever darken my door again. Yeah? Why? Because you've aligned with people who've tried to steal from me. That's why. Hey, Brian! Oh, Brian's stolen my concept of the show to write his book with. Now, when Brian was talking about how, like Anthony suggested, I just give the thieves what they want, like, no big deal. Till I started talking about him giving me his book, then suddenly he started lying and being the sad scum that he actually is. Now, you have aligned with these people. I said yesterday, I feel they should have their hands removing for being thieves. That's how I'd deal with them. Just chop their fucking thieving hands off. You thought they need your friendship. Why? Because you don't understand how fucking Horizon works and you felt You'd had your nose put out of joint by me when I corrected you, when you said you're not measuring Earth flat with a sextant. Wrong, fatty! But you want to align with people who thieve from me because of that, do you? Then you're not worth my time. We certainly don't need your permission to talk about what the horizon is. But as for me, what, turning on somebody? Now that's what happens when you betray me. Now Neil's not in any position currently, as far as I'm aware, to fuck me over. Now Anthony suggesting that I should give my stuff to thieves tells me exactly all I need to know. Now, when he then lines up with them on their show, the one that I created for QE, you realise I produced that show. Now, did he pay me for it? No, I'm not the kind of scumbag that goes around demanding the 50-50 that QE offered me for the show that I set up for him after convincing him to become a YouTuber when he wasn't. He was a chat skank. Yeah? So me having made that man what he is feels that my story is his story, and you felt that I should give that to him. Okay, that makes you a cunt, Anthony. Make no mistake about it. Also, you are fat. That's just an observation. You don't have to fucking like how fat you are. Lose some weight, you fat cunt.
I don't know why he thinks he's got to give me freaking advice or some sort of... Who are you? I have told you, stop sending me messages. Don't waste your time. I use them for entertainment here, but now you're getting a little too personal. Don't worry about me, Eddie Bear. Worry about yourself. You see, I don't fuck anybody over that didn't have it coming to them.
Anthony gave me an example of the Verve. Said that Richard Ashcroft lost touch with the people who demanded that they got a say in the songs he wrote. And when he went, no, I wrote them. And they went, well, we don't want to be around you then. Well, okay. That was the end of that. He's like, well, you don't want that to be the case. What? Oh, I should really want to hang around the men I made. QE wouldn't be anything if he didn't have a show set up by me. I was the one who set it up. He didn't have to do anything. He wasn't inclined to do it. I had to talk him into it. Talk him into becoming a YouTuber. So what, that suddenly becomes his story that he can steal from me? Because he offered to help polish up a book that already existed, that's become a second book that he owns, and you agree? Anthony's a cunt. Why the fuck do you think I'm just talking to him like it is? Yeah, he's delusional. He thinks that he's somehow got a bearing over what the horizon is, like the rest of the dweebs that we're trying to leave by the wayside currently. That's Anthony's problem. Delusions of grandeur. Like, you think you're influential on this? You won't support it? Nobody ever fuck. Nobody asked you for your support. When I asked you, you told me that I should give my shit to thieves. When I asked you for your support, right? Now, I didn't cast you down or chastise you for that. But when then you come along when you've decided, like Brian, I'm not going to be a part of this group. I'm going to storm out ceremoniously and leave a group. Mods of Nathan Oakley. Anthony Riley left. All right, well, he's gone then. I know, he's talking to Neil about how the horizon's not physical. What, like made with the ground? Fucking retard. Get lost. Go and hang around with your thieves, but that means don't darken my door anymore. Yeah? Then you won't get called a fat cunt. Now, if you don't like being called a fat cunt, don't be a fat cunt. That's to say, don't be a cunt and demand or suggest that I give up what is my intellectual property. Like, fuck yourself. No. Now, if you're not going to support me because you felt like you were put out because you didn't like me putting you in your place when it came to your idiocy of the horizon you argued about for months on end being the physical geometric sphere edge horizon and how far it should or shouldn't be with refraction, suddenly isn't physical, refracted or otherwise, because we're measuring Earth flat with a sextant. Like, okay, go piss off. Like, we give a shit. We didn't need your permission. The horizon's not asking you. It's not concerned with what Anthony agrees with. But you feel you've got to tell us. No, we don't give a shit either. Like, literally, beyond you being an anecdote in my book, I couldn't give a fuck what you've got to do anymore. Like, you're dead to me. Now, you get it. That's why you don't get talked about. No one gives a shit. Now, it might be helpful if maybe your name was on the front of my book, Anthony. Then people would remember it. Unfortunately for thieves who decided that was their way of having a little quote-unquote swan song, well, like, this is socially important to their names. No. Wrong. Incorrect. Now, those selfish fuckers have also had their ends metaphorically chopped off by me. Get lost. Never darken my door again. Go and grovel and moan about how you've been hard done by for not getting away with thieving my intellectual property from me. Yeah? Go and support them in their thieving endeavours. Like-minded souls who like stealing things that don't belong to them. Yeah, you're all the same. You're thick as thieves.
I can't be doing with people poking the nose in. Just keep your fucking mouth shut and your opinions to yourself, innit?
Yeah, that was shocking to me when he was shouting them out. Like, it was in chat, but the way it was written, like he was their buddies. And I'm like, how the freak can you go from, you know what happened? Nathan went to you for advice, so you know what happened. And your advice was, just give them what they want. Yeah, it sounds like what Brian was doing.
You know what it is, Neil? It's people, including the flat earthers, right, want to continue to talk about the geometric horizon and gravity and Coriolis. That's what they want. They want that. So that's where they've gone. Talk about refraction and you need a barrier for refraction and, you know, two mediums and a barrier. When Earth's fucking measured flat.
Yeah, he's a piece of crap. And it's a shame because I thought he was freaking, I thought he was your mate.
Anyway,
to find
listen, don't put your energy into that shit, yeah? It's bad energy. So the book looks fantastic. That book's going to be look mint. You know what I mean? When it eventually does, I mean, it might be digital at first or downloading. I don't know what's happening, but if you get that book published, it's going to be great. It looks great with Nathan's name on, measured flat, all roads lead to. It's fantastic.
Now, which one do you like better?
What do you mean?
There's one that has all roads lead to a flat earth going up like in Star Wars when you're reading in the beginning. And there's one where they're just written straight out. There's two. You didn't see the other one?
Yeah, I don't need to. The one I saw, I thought was great. It was just like the digital flat grid with some elevation profiles.
It doesn't have the
above,
cows in it, though.
It don't matter. It's what it represents, right? One deck. The cover art is irrelevant. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be totally different when it comes out here. It's not that relevant. It's like just you're majoring on the minors. No offense to you. What One Deck's saying is, it's just seeing it as a physical thing. That's why I printed one out. I printed out the 7th draft so that I could hold up something on camera to make it more real. So that what it is with the picture on it just makes it more real.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you put two of them up there and people were taking freaking pics on which one. That's all I know. It's just a mock-up that was there.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I like the other one because it has the cows in it, and cows is it's part of the show. This cow is big, these cows are far away. Or whatever, however the hell you say it. Yeah, it's part of the show. So I happen to like that one. If it can be put in the real cover, that would be great. If it's not, I'm sure it'll be great anyway.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I prefer the one without the cows, to tell you the truth. But that's just my opinion. I mean, that doesn't mean anything, really. I think the other one, I think it looks quite professional as well, you know, the first one. Got the digital aspect of the flat horizontal plane. And
that's what I like the best.
And that's going to... Yeah. Because remember, we put some photographs up, didn't we, of like the road, a desert road, but that's really good, the digital aspects of that. And when anybody who sees that, who has tried to take ownership of this, it's just going to be like an axe in the head. Because they've put a lot of work into it. And Paula, and to come back with this now and get this published, and after everything that's happened, is a fantastic achievement. So well done, Nathan and Paula. Well done.
Thanks.
What do you mean? It's a book? He's still saying he's finishing the book. He showed me a book. I'm confused. Which one is it?
I wonder how many Globers will buy it.
I want to know what they're going to say when it's available online, and then when it's available on paperback. What's the next thing they're going to say? It's not really him.
Nobody reads books anymore.
You think a book is going to change the world?
It might have my pocketbook.
Obviously, the Globers are going to buy it and they'll read it, and for the fact that they're just going to try and just find some fault with it, which they won't. But anything, that's what they do, innit? That's all they can do now.
I think we should recommend that. All you Globers, buy a copy and try and find flaw in the book. All you Globers, buy a copy.
Help if you buy 2
copies. I think we should recommend that.
Yeah. Point out where the measurements are wrong.
Yeah, we'll pull out a challenge. Any of you Globers can find an error, but you got to buy a copy of the book. All right? You have to have proof that you bought a copy of the book, not that you just grabbing it offline somewhere. Shoot, Nathan, we'll get you right up there in the finances that way. How you going to find the flaw in the measurement, One Deck?
No, you can't. Somebody could measure something incorrectly, but the measurement of the thing that they've measured will always be that measurement.
Is that going to change the inch, as Refracted would say? Is there going to be a debate about the inch? Because that's what it is at its origin.
Nope. Earth is flat. Yeah.
So no matter what they come with, if they're saying it's not flat, they're in a losing situation already. Because now you're fighting with reality.
Yeah, like I said the other day, we was given the flat Earth, and we've used the flat Earth to proceed with all of the measurements. Yeah, we was given sea level as our baseline, our starting point. Sorry, I mean mean sea level as our starting points for all measurements. So the first 0 degree baseline is flat. We was given it. It was just there. We didn't create it. It was there for us. That's what we had to deal with. It was flat and horizontal, and that's what we've worked with from day one.
Well, I'll think about it, One Deck. If I'm going to give you something, I'd tell you, I want you to freaking make this place livable. I want you to put buildings and houses and oceans and rivers there. I'm not going to hand you something other than flat. I'm not going to hand you a freaking beach ball and tell you to build a colony over here, build cities. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pathetic, but I mean, regardless of that, we have got sea level. That's it's across our beautiful Earth. That's what we've used for mapping all the elevation profiles, to work out altitude of things above it and below it, for navigation, for flight, travel.
Correct.
Sea level, baby. Yeah.
We was just given the flat Earth. Called the seas, and a dry ground Earth.
Yeah, so Earth is flat in order to proceed with any other measurements.
Well, that's just stupid. I was just by a mountain the other day. What do you mean you're telling me it's flat? I see mountains. I drove down a valley the other day. What's wrong with you, One Deck?
Mm.
And I don't understand how they don't get it when Nathan says, well, how did you get that from? How high from what? Or how do you when you go into a valley or declination in elevation, from what? It all has to come from mean sea level. That's how you're describing it. Everybody wants to walk past that like it don't exist.
That's what I was saying before. This clown are talking to me, thinking, "Oh, well, you give us the height of the sun. Then what's the altitude of the sun?" So, altitude. That's in reference to sea level, the 0 degree baseline. There's another fucking flat Earth proof.
Yep.
That you're using it as some sort of gotcha against me to give you the height of the sun, which I've not even made a claim about in celestial navigation. And now you want the height of the sun, altitude, which is above sea level. Clown.
Correct. That's how we get a height, right? They want to just ignore the reference plane that's needed to get any type of measurement, accurate measurement.
And then he was on about something about, I don't know, he started drifting onto radar detects a physical horizon. How can radar see a plane at 10,000 feet, 100 miles away? Now, what you could pick two things. Yeah, well, he was going to, but you've got, how can radar see a plane at what? 10,000 feet above what?
Oh dear.
And then 100 miles away. What's a mile?
Now you got distance too.
This is him trying to rebut me. He's just giving me loads of flat Earth prerequisites all the time.
So he's trying to rebut you while using the flat Earth in every claim. Brilliant.
Yeah. Radar detects a physical horizon. How can radar see a plane at 10,000 feet, 100 miles away, but fail to see a giant cargo ship 30 miles away at sea level? That's what he said. Sea level. He used fucking sea level as his ending statement.
But his statement is about something that you're not consequential with regards to. You're not a radar manufacturer, and he's not buying any radars, is he?
No. Doesn't matter. It detects it, Nathan. It detects it.
It's a what?
It detects the physical horizon.
What does? His radar? Oh, right. What's the name of his company that's producing them? Is he putting a complaint in because he's bought one and he's not happy with how far they see if I could say it, see ships?
Yeah, 30 miles away at sea level, he said.
30 miles away, you say? See, I just laugh when that happens. I just keep laughing.
What, that he's using miles and sea level?
Of course. I mean, come on. And then when you explain it to them... Go ahead, Wanda.
I'm just saying he's trying to prove a globe using 10,000 feet and 100 miles away and a 30-mile distance at sea level. Oh, my God.
It's just so stupid, isn't it? That's why the only fun that we can have with these people is to start analysing why are they doing it and why are they interacting with you as they do it. Well, earlier, take some of this as complimentary because it very much is one deck. He's popped you right up on that pedestal, hasn't he? When I was saying it, did you feel my vibe when I'm pointing out that he wants you, as this is because we've started to dissect these people, right? What do they need? Well, they need you to be wrong, don't they? It's not them to be right. They can't be. But if they can make you wrong, well, that means that they've got to first elevate you so that you being wrong has some consequence. So that when you're wrong, that makes them by default right. So that's a whole process. But in so doing, they're popping you up on the pedestal to achieve that. What does that really mean when you break it down? They've got some other man up on some pedestal that they're building for him. Well, if we take what you say to be of consequence, then pi equals 2. Oh, so what I say has to have consequence for this to work mentally for you. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Ew, gross. See what I mean? Much more fun. Am I concerned about the circle? No, that's a flat Earth prerequisite. We're long past that. What's that? Oh, you were taking it somewhere that you thought was super clever, so we didn't notice how flat circles were. Yeah, but we do. So now all that's left, we know Earth's measured flat, is to look at you, you sad little low-value human being. Why you're doing what you're doing. You want to turn this into an aspect sociologically? Oh, that's all right. I'll keep it in that category then. That means looking at you, though. Not looking at how flat Earth gets measured. That's a done deal. But you, and how you interact with this subject, and how you pop us on pedestals is, ew, so gross. Isn't it? And just so creepy.
Yeah, exactly, Nathan. Yeah, they have to build you or us or whoever they're talking to. They have to build them up in order to then try and knock them down to claim a victory over something probably not even associated with the subject.
Or not necessarily not associated with the subject, not concerning of them. They're like, they aren't the arbiters of how these things get put into functional effect by others that aren't them. You know, they can try and stand on the shoulders of Euclid, but they ain't Euclid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just seeing what else he was saying. Yeah, they talk a right load of crap. This.
I gave up this particular aspect of the job, what I do, so long ago. And if you want to mark when this lack of interest in other people, I know I've got a live show and I literally invite them to join every single day, right? But it's repellent, isn't it? In the same way, us saying I'm not interested in your opinion is like flies around shit. They just can't get enough of it. You know, it's like that girl that suddenly really wants to be in your company because you're saying you don't want her. That it's that real low-level reverse psychology aspect of what we do. But I gave it up ages ago when I was like, I don't go into the chat on Discord. It's like, why? Well, because actually in reality, unless you're producing the material that goes out on camera to YouTube, I have literally no interest in anything that you do. That's why I completely when I was asked about Toon earlier today, I'm like, man. But for the fact that he'd been on my show, I wouldn't know who the guy was. People would be like talking about this guy. People do it all the time. They're talking about various different characters, and I've got no interaction with them. Same with Simon Dan. If he hadn't tweeted me, and I don't even use Twitter, it's when I'm publishing the show to Twitter, just clicking on share and happen to notice that there's a Simon Dan comment, that he's proactively contacting me. He's concerned with what I think. Not the other way around. I'm not going to Dan's videos, am I? I'm not interested. I couldn't give a shit about any of these people. You know, there's a little aspect of jealousy when I'm like, wow, that guy's done really well. He's got 100,000 subs. I want 100,000 subs. But beyond the jealousy of, I wish I was doing as well as he is on YouTube, but that's more like I'm admiring them. I know I'll get knocked for it and people are like, oh, it's like you're saying you like them. It's like, well, no, I admire them in what they do on YouTube because I'm a YouTuber. I'd be stupid not to. The only alternative is crabs in a bucket mentality when you're like, well, if I can bring another man down, that, strictly speaking, elevates me. Does it?
Yeah,
No,
but you're not getting
assistance,
assistance, Nathan. They're getting assistance with YouTube because you're getting censored. So they're getting assistance.
Yeah, I envy that. I'd love to be in a position where I was just algorithmically favoured. Now, the fact that if you're doing something mundane, talking about survey in your backyard, you can end up with 4.5 million subscribers like that Surveyor channel did. Well, we haven't picked the mundane. You know, the mundane's already been covered, and then it's just luck. Because I bet that for every guy out there with 4.5 million subs making videos about surveying, there's another 20 people who've got channels that they've opened with the hope that they'll be liked by an end audience that has ultimately decided that they're going to subscribe to that guy with 4.5 million views. So there's going to be another guy out there that's feeling sorry for himself, and I just don't want to be that guy. The fact that in my arena, that's Flat Earth, others, Simon Dan, have done better in that arena than I. You kind of, if you don't have the good for you, mate, I wish I was doing that well in this subject, you just drive yourself nuts. When you're in that position, let's say I was Dan, right? That mentality means that when you're in that position, you just go, I wish I was Vsauce. Why aren't I blessed? Why haven't I got 20 million subscribers and immediately hitting 90,000 views within 4 minutes of my video coming out? I want to be that guy. That's all that mentality leads to. You're never satisfied. Well, life's about this moment. Am I chuffed? Yeah. so nerdy about my new acoustic treatment panels. 3 panels. I'm delighted. It's the most exciting thing that's happened to me in about a month. You know what I mean? The book's just pure stress. It's not much fun, I've got to be honest. You know, it's hard work, right? Now, out there promoting it, I cannot wait. I want my backdrop to look a bit nicer. I'm going to hopefully go out and find lots of nice new people, make some new friends, make a bit of money to keep my mortgage paid. Means I get to sit and talk to my kids. Clover's messing around in the background at the moment, and I couldn't be more delighted with where I am. Now, have I got things? Everyone's got things to moan about. I could be richer, but most of the people around me are as poor as I am at the moment, right? Neil, I'm sure you can attest to that. So how dare I if I start moaning about that? Got my beautiful daughters. Clover, stop doing that. Don't make me beat you.
They're going to clip that out, Nathan.
Also, I think now with the book is also professional.
Yeah, you want me to just reside yourself. That's why I'm like, what they said, what in the chat? I'm then talking to you, Neil. Now you get it, right? You've been here long enough to know how the deal works. Because you've separated yourself in this regard by actually reading out the comments. Because then it's not me having a disdain for you. Whereas, you know, Arwen straddled that line reasonably well, but would obviously sometimes lean into the character too much, where he just becomes annoying. Right? So there's a balance to be struck to produce the show. But beyond that, it's like they say what? It's always a reflection on them and what they are, as far as I'm concerned. And I have no control over how people perceive me. I can't control that, can I? Now, for reasons of pain relief, people are brutal. It's like they are to everybody. That's how people behave. People are people. So you kind of got to shrug your shoulders, and then you take stock of what you do have. Well, I've got a YouTube channel. Now, it's a successful YouTube channel that I've had as a career for 10 years. Well, when people say, well, you're making really good money from YouTube. No, no, I was really poor. But that's not my point. I've scraped by, but I'm not qualifying it in that terms. The amount of people that when you say to them you're a YouTuber, their eyes widen immediately. They don't go, well, does it properly cover the mortgage? That isn't their first question. Far from it. What do you think their first question is? How many subscribers have you got? How many people are paying attention to what you've got to say? That's their first question. Well, I've got 25,000 plus people. That's enough to fill a stadium that are listening to what I've got to say, or have decided that they want to maybe at some point listen to what I've got to say. You know, and in terms of the amount of times people have said, yes, I want to listen to what he's got to say, it's almost on this channel now up to 10 million. I mean, it's well surpassed 10 million ages ago, but this channel's on 9 million something views. So like almost 10 million times just on this channel alone. People have come and gone, yeah, I'll have a listen to what he's got to say. That's astonishing and a privilege that I should be grateful for and never moan about ever. Just know how lucky I am and realise it in this moment and recognise the delight in that. It doesn't stop me moaning that I'm poor. I mean, I am, you know, but that doesn't mean I don't take stock of how fantastic my life also is. And it is. You know, every day I wake up, every time Clover tells me she loves me, she's in the room, Eleanor's not currently. So, you know, that's something that's joyful and not long going to be lived. They're going to grow up, and I don't want to have missed a second of it. Talking about you.
Just on another note, Nathan, I know over the times, you know, the show and ballers coming on and you shouting and screaming and putting them down because you've got to, because they just talk nonsense and butt in and butt out. Then we stopped doing the Simon Dan videos and Dave McKeegan because that gets you wound up and everything like that. I think, and I'm speaking for us all, we're at a point now where, you know, and especially now the book's out, I think, we can talk about this subject and the measurements very calmly and very professionally. And I think that's what we should all be doing now.
Yeah, but it's always going to be.
That to you.
I agree. We're getting older as well, or I am. And it's like, no, you just want an easier life. You know, you're less concerned with what people say or think about you, and more concerned about, well, am I actually happy or not? You know, because if you exclude those noises, which are easy to ignore, right? You just don't go and read them. You don't go and interact with them. And if you do choose to interact with them, it's like, well, that's your fault. You went and chose to interact with those people. Now, there are certain instances where they'll literally force themselves in between cracks that you've left open, in which case, I've said this on shows recently, right, that becomes criminal. And at that point, you do actually have to do something about it. And in that regard, although I'm normally doing it while I'm hamming it up a bit, I am actually sincere in that regard. It's like, no, there's going to come points, I know there will, if my popularity does grow, which I hope it does. It's certainly, on a very slow growth ever since I've been doing this. So I can't assume anything other than that the pattern would continue. Hopefully be a little bit more rapid when I'm out proactively promoting something to sell, like the book. But that's going to mean there's going to be people who try and sneak through those cracks that will become criminal in terms of their endeavours. But I've experienced it all at least a dozen times in almost every way you can name so far in the 12 years that I've been doing this. It happens all the time. It doesn't faze me in any way. In fact, it's like, my dad always had an analogy for this. It's like being stung. If you're a beekeeper, you get stung and suddenly it's a massive shock. 10 years in, the stings, you go, oh yes, I think I must remember that I got stung on my back while I'm doing this. No, you don't even notice it. It becomes almost inconsequential to your job as a beekeeper. You know what I mean? You're just occasionally going to get stung and you go, oh well. But as long as it's not actually going to send you into anaphylactic shock, in which case you're not going to be a beekeeper, you're not going to be too concerned about it. It's just, it diminishes every single time it happens. But you do have a choice, right? You don't have to interact with these people on Discord. You don't have to read those messages. Me, I'm a terrible for it. I barely carry my phone around with me ever. Right, unless I go, oh no, I've got a child with me, therefore, as a responsible adult, I should really go and get that phone off. Shit, it's got no charge in it. You know what I mean? That's me. Because it's like, I don't want to be disturbed if I'm out at the park with the kids, if I'm honest. I don't want to be reading messages. I'll take, when I have no kids to interact with at a lesson, my laptop with me then, like the iPad, and produce a video for my audience, at which point that's working. But only because I can't be interacting with the people I'm with. But there's certain people that just, it sounds horrible because it sounds like I'm calling you masochists, and I'm not. But you derive a certain pleasure from interacting with these people. Now, I've been derogatory in the past and say you're sniffing your own farts, and I'm not going to disagree with that sentiment when I'm saying it now either. It's like, no, if you want to sniff your own farts for a bit, people do indulge in themselves for those reasons, so they can lord it over next man because they can derive a certain amount of pleasure from it. So long as it's recognised by the people who do that, you or Neil or whoever else is listening to me say this, right? So long as you appreciate that you're normally only doing that because you're in fear of something, right? Your concern leads you to want to address it. Now, your apathetic reaction when it comes future tense will tell your current self that it wasn't worth it and it didn't do anything other than alleviate a fear you just hadn't lived up to or recognised was occurring at the time. And with reflection, you go, yes, I was actually concerned and scared for these aspects. And I just didn't admit it to myself. That's why I was reacting to these people. That's why I wanted to tell them how wrong they were to make me right.
Yeah, that is the difference. Because there were times that, like, I can remember for a while I had to come back on the show and say, hey, here's something that I thought made sense to me. Defeat it, but I only did that because maybe there were times, even though I would say so fervently that I know the earth is flat, there were times I was like, but then why is this like this? You should have no doubt. The moment you get to the no doubt stage, you really don't feel the need to argue with people about something you for a fact know. It really changes the way you look at things.
Yeah, you become more indifferent, where you'd think that that's like getting the metaphor of the golden bullet. You get the golden bullet, and in your mind, when you get it, you're going to want to shoot at every opportunity. You get it, and you go, gold's just a medal then, and actually, I'm not really in the mood for shooting. In fact, wanting to shoot was only because I was scared of the thing that I was pointing the gun at, and now I'm actually not scared of it. That's why I got handed the golden bullet. So, and then the people around you go, surely you should shoot that. Yeah, I don't care. And they go, yeah, but you were very concerned about it a year ago. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't I? That's a bit embarrassing now that I know what I know. Because on reflection, I was in fear of something. And that's why I was so determined. And by contrast, it's also slightly embarrassing that my bravado, I being the loudest person in the room at the time, was a direct consequence of my own fear of my own ignorance in the moment. Isn't that a weird contrast where I'm being loud and yet I'm when looked upon inwardly, the most worried that I can't explain this, or I don't have an explanation for this, or whatever the context of what we're talking about is now, you needing to explain something or worrying that it might mean you're wrong. That was never my concern in that regard. It was always, how will I explain this to the person? Because then it's like, my inability to explain it is what I'm concerned about, not being able to explain it to the person that's asking the question. Now, neither are of concern. It's like, why are they asking this question? Let's look at them. What about the question? Oh, that's inconsequential now. The question's already been solved in terms of the question we get asked, is Earth flat? Well, that's how it's measured. But why are you here asking again? Oh, you're being rude to me now? I mean, if you're in front of me, I'll give you a slap. But now let's look at why you've come here to be rude at me, because that's amusing. Audiences love that stuff. Let's psychoanalyze you. No, I know you keep thrashing around saying that we need to discuss flat Earth, but it's just measured flat. Okay, well, let's do it for 10 seconds. Blah, 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 from a mile distance. Well, that's a flat Earth measurement. So we already knew what we knew. 10 seconds into what you think we need, which is a debate, because that's why we need to psychoanalyze you. We found out that you're measuring it flat too. So it didn't take long. Back to square one. Let's have an analyse session of you little dweeb. Oh, low self-esteem. Yeah, I can relate. Yeah, I get told that I should have that by people who are in fear.
Well said, Nathan. But going on, I think now, and I'm being honest with you, like the conversation I just sort of put to you, I wasn't arguing with this guy at all. I have done in the past, but recently now, we all know the Earth's measured flat, and we can give demonstrations, and we all know that all globe-proof measurements, apparently, are flat Earth measurements. And we're talking about psychoanalyzing. I'm finding it interesting that just giving the responses to highlight that he's mentioned altitude and telling him that's above sea level very calmly, yeah, and his mile distance was linear. And just I'm looking and watching and psychoanalyzing the responses and working out where his mind's going and how he's changing in response to my responses. So I'm not actually going in anymore and, you will listen to me. And
yeah, sure.
I'm doing it very calmly, Neil.
Neil is still stuck. That's why he's the last.
I know what you're
of the
saying.
movie.
You're saying you're just listening to what they say and looking at it, scrutinizing it, psychoanalyzing. Sort of what I do with the guys that send me messages all through the evening and the mornings.
Yeah, because it is interesting. Now we're talking about this and and looking at the behaviour with going back from their belief being challenged and the behaviour, how they behave. Like I said to Nathan, we don't need to argue about this anymore. We don't need to raise our voices and start shouting. We can, if we do get into a discussion or a conversation for whatever reason, it can be nice and calm and professional until we decide to end it if it's going nowhere.
Right, that used to be one of our lines. We crack this guy's skull, see what makes him tick. So basically, we're cracking their skulls, metaphorically, to try and see what's making these guys tick. What's giving them their desire to keep coming back when they've been told, we don't want you here. Actually, we don't like you. And they just come back even more. They're like Klingons, Leeches. Try to suck the life right out of you.
Yeah, low value males, if that's the only attention they get, people who tell them we don't really like you very much, and with good reason, they see that as a justified reason to hang around more. Okay, I mean, if you want to hang around even more as a result of telling you that we're not interested in your company, it works on that sad psychology like works in dating. All right, the more you treat them mean, the more that they're keen. That seems to be the way it goes here. I mean, it is back to the psychological analysis that they need to put you on a pedestal, Neil. I mean, your suggestion typically is that, no, they're doing that to get to me. Yeah, standard fair triangulation in that regard. They only can achieve their ends without being made feel worse by me if they go via a third party. But again, sad. What, you relied on me for your pain relief? Well, they did, didn't they? We already knew that without having to stand back.
You don't give them much relief anymore.
None, quite the contrary. That's when they start asking the real men, the police force, social services team, their councilmen, to step in for them. Oh, okay. That, again, very telling. Low-value males with no influence that seek other men to triangulate influence for them. Like, all right, did you manage to lose this man his job because you don't like what he says online? Oh, what big man. How did you do that? You went via a different man. I see. His boss. I see. Very good. You must be very proud. What a great life you lead. These people, when you actually stand back, you go, they must be so furious and angry and full of hate that consumes their day. Does that sound fun? I'll put it as a question. No, of course not. But that's their lives. Listen to what they're doing. So hate has driven you to that point. So you're full of hate and rage. And you want to pull another man down, crabs in a bucket, ruin someone else's life because that will elevate you? Bring the consensus in line with the reality that you want to believe in? Will it achieve those things? Of course not. But they don't know it because in their mind, that's the path that they're leading. Like, achieving a consensus will make them feel better. So no, it won't. You just don't know that. Being where you are, you can't go back. You can't suddenly unsniff the roses. You can't do it. It's not possible. Once it's entered your bloodstream, it's there permanently. Now, this subject matter is like that. But they think that they can externalise it onto a source, a component that, if eradicated, will suddenly make them feel better. It's delusional. Now, those people, it's like the revenge arc in a themed story, where in the mind's eye of the guy who's been wronged by an assassin, if he catches the assassin and kills him, everything will be all right again. They catch the assassin, they mercilessly beat him and torture him, and then afterwards they don't feel better, they feel worse. They feel like they've become a monster and that they're the kind of person now that tortures people. You're like, yeah, that's the arc, isn't it? You lived through fear and hatred and then pursued revenge. And in so doing, you wasted many hours that could have been spent enjoying the privileged position they find themselves in. Now, we only focus on, well, they got promoted within YouTube. Yeah. And are they happy? Do they relish the fact that they've got 5 times the subscribers of Nathan Oakley? No, they're never going to qualify it that way. It's why aren't I Vsauce? Why haven't I got 10 million? Because that's the kind of pessimism that type of person is going to have as a personality trait, especially when they're putting other men they aren't on pedestals rather than recognising the roses around them and just having a sniff for a second. These people don't do that. They're more concerned with next man, aren't they? In fact, most of them are only concerned with next man. They get fixated. It's really creepy.
Hello, am I coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, what I took notice to was how a certain party keeps shitting all over the book. But then he wanted to know, am I going to be getting mentioned in the book since refracted curvature said it right? Am I going to get a mention? So on one side of his mouth, he's saying it's going to flop. On the other side, he's like, am I going to be in there? No, you're not going to.
You don't know that. Well, you just have to buy a copy and find out, won't you?
Oh, yeah, true. You might be in there, but Nathan, they're going to buy a copy anyway. You know that.
Well, then I thank them all.
Yeah, so now
I think you should think about slightly changing your intro to include purchasing the book should someone be so inclined.
I didn't catch that. Include what?
And recreate an intro to your show that includes mention of the book.
Oh, what you're saying?
Revamp your.
Yeah, I can do that.
I'm having a hard time hearing him.
No, I got what he said. Yeah, I can do that. No worries, Eli. Good suggestion.
What did he say?
He said incorporate a plug for the book in the intro. And he's absolutely right. I should.
Oh yeah, nice.
It's one of those. I'm glad I'm getting these suggestions now. It's when somebody starts suggesting that 6 months ago when you're in the middle of editing the damn thing, like in earnest, that you go like, look, I just don't need to be thinking about this second. Whereas now it's like, yeah, like I plug my Patreon and I plug my PayPal and I plug my joining as a members and tell you how to link to the show. I need to then tell you how you link to the book.
Plug the link to the book and also a link to the what do you call that? Or they can make a little profit from it if they have a YouTube channel.
Affiliate.
Yeah. Never know. People will be hungry for that. Wait, I can make 30% too? They could be freaking ballers and they'll want that.
I would expect
Start
most of the
doing
people I go and
shorts
see are
and clips
ballers.
again.
It's just there's a difference between unpleasant ballers and people who have no idea about the subject. They're automatically ballers by gin standards, right?
That's correct.
Start pushing shorts and clips. Clips that people may repost to TikTok and other places if you're not, going to push it that heavy. And those videos should also have a brief description of the book.
Okay, Leah, like when I was doing the Omi videos, I'd start the video by be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Well, you're just living in a religion. Obviously you didn't know you were being taught it.
I remember those. I was the producer on those shows, wasn't I?
It's not your book. It's not your book.
That was funny though. Those are my producers in the background. That's like, I'm a producer now?
That one guy that
Okay, John.
I was going to say the one guy you interacted with, and then he hunted you back down on Omi. You remember that guy? Like,
Yeah, he wanted to show
dude,
me his tinfoil ball.
Yeah. You could book raffle.
Well, the first time he talked to him, he was completely uninterested in anything he had to say. And then, like, maybe 30 minutes later, the dude had stayed on there, just, I guess, swiping through people until he got to Nathan again.
Maybe I'll do Omi again. It was quite good fun.
That's dedication for you, that, isn't it?
Again, in that moment, that is something that we can remember fondly. And I very much, in that moment of doing that, enjoyed my job. That was part of my job 12 months ago before doing, about 2 years ago. But you know what I mean? For that year, when I was doing Omi, this year it's been microphones because it had to directly translate to cash whilst chewing up time doing the book. So, microphones has been my Omi TV this year gone by. And I've got to be honest, making microphone videos is nowhere near as much fun as being on Omi TV, just interacting with randos. That was great fun.
I don't agree to be videoed.
Is there any reference to that in the book, Nathan? I don't think there is there? Oh,
Why would there be? I mean, that was, like I say, just a bit of fun.
yeah.
I mean, there is, because some of the things that you have to remember were being picked up on, with me pointing out to people that they'd been raised in a religion of heliocentrism. That was the overarching theme that I went into Omi TV with. Just talk about how they have been trained into the heliocentric one world religion. And that's generally what I was doing. Towards the end, you could hear sneaking into the rhetoric. Well, Earth's just measured flat. You can just hear it right at the end. But for the most part, it's, yeah, you're in a religion. No, you wouldn't know that you're in a religion, though, would you? Because the religion wants you to believe that what they say is real, even if they call themselves a religion. Like Scientologists believe what they believe in sincerity. That's what they believe. Well, if you're in a religion, even if it's unbeknownst to you, one of the prerequisites of being part of that religion is that you believe the thing that the religion stands for, in this case, heliocentrism. Now, if you recognise it's a religion, what therefore wrong, because of the demeaning aspects of it being religious, like based on faith or whatever you want to tar that with a negative brush, this religion that you suddenly found out you're a part of, because, well, that's an offence. I don't just believe things. I know these things are true. I know I'm on a ball flying around the frickin' sun. Do you now? That's an interesting talk. But those things, do they get talked about in the book? Of course. That's the theme of the book. How heliocentrism is based on flat earth measurements. It's talking about heliocentrism as the religion being developed by heliocentrists. It's just those tonal chapters are boring most of the time. I find that particular aspect boring. It's, as you say, you don't remember what was talked to the guy who was flicking through Omi trying to find me again. He's just found the reaction of him is what we are interested in, because people are interested and find amusing other people and how they behave. But why was he, searching me down? Well, because I told him he was in a religion. That's why. And initially he was like, what do you mean I'm in a religion? No, I'm not. No, I'm all right. Hang on a second. Religion of being on a ball? Where's that guy? I put the phone down on him when he said he was a flat earther. Now I want to tell him off.
Yeah, funny.
Do you remember how long it actually was between the time you spoke to him the first time and when he finally found you
About
again?
an hour. Something like that. I remember doing the edit for that video because I edited the two together. Him initially, and he's being nonchalant, and then him finding what I'd said an absolute affront to his very nature. You know what I mean? And hunting me down again. Oh, gotcha!
Yeah, that second time, he started out with just scattergunning as many logical fallacies as he could, like right off the jump, It's like, wow.
Yeah, like a true Scientologist by equivalence. I don't know. I don't know if we'll cover it again, but did any of you happen to see that little clip from Chase Hughes saying, "Where's the curve, bro?" or whatever he said? Did anybody actually watch that? If not, I'll dig it out.
Yes, I did. Nathan, what was I was reading your comment in the comments, and I wasn't comprehending it. Do I got to watch the whole video to understand what you meant by your comments?
What was my comment? What do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Something with juggling contact? Something, I don't know
Contact
what the hell you said.
Contact juggling is when they're talking about Labyrinth, right? And there's a bit where David Bowie's got this crystal and he's floating it around on his arms. And they're talking about that, but in the context of somebody doing it at a rave. It's like, when they have those balls at a rave and they're rolling them around. And they didn't know how to describe what that was. Well, that's actually a skill I learned in college called contact juggling, where you have the ball, and I didn't actually learn that particular aspect. I did normal juggling with clubs and balls and things, but not contact juggling. But other people who were on the course did contact juggling. One particular guy who was very good at it, or got very good at it towards the end of the course. But it's that where you keep the ball in contact with your arm and have it move around your head, and it looks like it's completely stationary. It's contact juggling. It's just me giving the terminology. One of them's a thespian, isn't he? The guy with the long hair.
Yes.
And he gave a great word the other day.
I thought you were
I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Mark. But Mark said one of the most beautiful words ever. When somebody was, I can't remember his name, he's some guy from the States who was raping women and faked his death, moved over to here, and then decided to give himself some Scottish name. And he wouldn't show his tattoos that would give him away as the person who's lied about dying. Anyway, he's saying he can't stand up, and then he stands up in a hurry, right? And that Mark guy was like, he's the worst kind of malingerer that there is. And you're like, wow, what a wonderful word, malingerer.
What does it mean?
Feigning an illness.
See, I thought your comment was directly to what he said about the curves. I didn't know you were commenting on the whole video.
Yeah, contact juggling was just them talking about a particular thing that I'd learned in college. I mean, if they'd have gone, that thing where the fire comes out of their faces and it looks like I'd be like, fire breathing. I commented to somebody else further down. So there was somebody who mentioned something about flat Earth further down the comments, and then somebody responds, all very pleasant, and then a third party comes in on, oh, you're obviously very low intellect, after talking about a distance to the sun in the heliocentric model. And it really pissed me off. So I gave him 2 comments as a response. I'm like, you're deriving a value from a flat plane for an elevation for how suns aren't getting hotter as you get closer to them. All of your prerequisites are flat. And then you've got the nerve to tell this person that they're not of a very high intelligence just because they're questioning something. How dare you? You know, were you dropped on your head, Gus? Was my then response to him. Because you're using flat Earth measurements of altitude to describe how suns won't get hot. And then telling somebody else that they're stupid. What is it about heliocentrism that makes people feel that they've got the right to tell next man that they're stupid? Like, just be insulting to somebody in the chat of this video that we're discussing now, this behavioural
Because
panel.
they learned it in school, Nathan, and everything you're taught in school is correct. So it's like somebody coming and challenging somebody, saying 2 + 2 is 4. If somebody comes and says 2 + 2 is 5, they're going to say, what are you, an idiot? Same thing.
I don't know if it was on the video we watched last week or if it was the same guy. It was all about intelligent people. And intelligent, this intelligent thing is just people who are pretty good at remembering stuff, really. It's nothing to do with, being logic and working things out and coming to your own opinion about things.
Should have been writing this down.
With knowledge. Yeah. So when people say you're not very intelligent, it's going against what they've been told to believe or remember.
Correct. Exactly, One Deck. You got it.
Good afternoon, guys.
Yes, George.
Who's that, Georgie?
How's things?
Well, the sea's pretty level, mate. And all altitudes are in reference to sea level. How are you?
Obviously, you don't know what level means, One Deck.
Well, I'm still stuck on the same question. How many horizontal planes are there on the surface of a sphere? That's the killer.
Obviously, you don't know how it works. There's 4 of them. 1 in the top, 1 in the bottom, 1 in the left, 1 in the right. It's like how they get north, south, east, and west. It only works on a globe.
Yeah, it's a locally big globe.
Top, bottom, left, and right, man. You're just using those planar coordinates like it ain't nothing, right?
Yeah. That's what you always say. That's all you can say is measure flat, measure flat, measure flat. Well, I measure it not to be flat, and my name is Baz. But 3 years ago, you can listen to my debate I had with a surveyor.
It's interesting you say you measure it not to be flat. How are you deciphering that it's not flat? Are you measuring against how flat overall it is?
I have mountains, valleys, hills, so I measure it to not be flat. It's the true globe, the real globe.
It was like what we seen, as like John said, I said it before, it was given to us flat. We've had to deal with that, and that's the only thing we've had to then proceed to measure other things with. The flatness of the levelness of sea level, mean sea level. That's what we were presented with from day one, in order to then move forward and make other measurements, across the Earth. We had to just use that level horizontal baseline because that's what was there. That's what we was given.
It gets easier that way.
Yeah, if we're talking about Bev, it says it's not flat, it's level. It's a moron, man.
What a revelation, Bev. What a revelation.
So the definition of level is
Not level. Eh?
Don't try and overthink it. Just tap them on the head, ruffle their head, and go, "Yeah, you are so right, aren't you? You're amazing."
You're correct, Bev. Oh, wait, don't say that because they'll never live it down. As you know, what refracted is not living down Edibear. John said I was right.
John should lean into that too.
Said I was
Thank you. You should recognise and say, "Oh, I'm so glad that you appreciate my approval, Edibear. I'm glad you are recognising your subservience to me. Yes, very good. Just do it in another voice and make them exactly. You've got it."
John said I was right. Hello? I'll use my other voice. Nathan? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hey, just to Edinburgh, a broke clock is right twice a day. So good on you, bub.
You're like his hero. And, that's cool. I can totally relate. John is ace. I can understand why you'd want him and his approval, Edibear. Totally makes sense to me. I think he's cool too. Sorry to talk about you in the third person, John.
It's all right. I forgot I was here too.
Don't be like that.
Well, once I figured out what I knew in this subject, self-deprecation's kind of been a way to tone down the vitriol of the subject. Because if I don't take it too serious, and maybe they won't either.
Listen, Refracted, you said I was right. Am I going to make the book now? Doesn't matter that you brought it back to sea level, putting somebody on a dinghy or a raft or a life preserver. That don't count because nobody's going to be using a sextant in a freaking life raft. Do something like that.
Yeah, once you get in the life raft, what's the point of trying to save your own life?
I know every time I've been close to sea level, I just know where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Oh, I got a second part to that. I got an answer for the sea level thing that Mr. Edibear was talking about. He says when you get in, there is no need for dip correction if the angle does not change in the elevation. This is before. Hold on. Wait, I got it. Oh, don't forget.
Hold on.
PS,
This sounds
forget.
like good news. Has Edibear got a boat? Are we going to go out and have fun on a boat with Edibear? This sounds ace.
He is. This is what he says. P.S. Don't forget, along with your sextant, your nautical charts.
No, your sextant. No. Let me just rephrase.
Yes.
Is he inviting us out on a boat that he's sorting out? Is that why we're having this conversation? Or is he just some dumb fuck dweeb? I mean, I've known people with boats and I've gone out with them. Those were fun people that you'd want to spend time with because they got a boat and they were concerned about the navigation processes. Is this just some dumb twat wannabe talking hypothetically about a boat he hasn't got? Then that's irritating, isn't it? Like, why are we talking about this? So we can go into imagination land with a dweeb about imagining having a boat that he hasn't got.
No, he's speaking to people that are directly been on a boat capsized, now they're on a raft.
No, that's a hypothetical. I mean, I want to know that if I'm going out with people on their boats, because they're fun people that have boats, that, you could be all right if there were to be problems. but it sounds to me like we're just describing a hypothetical just for the sake of it, so we can have an argument with some tosspot dweeb everybody hates. Unless it is, I'm wrong, and it is good news. Great, you know, he's our friend that's hanging around with us, that's got his boat, because that's cool.
Well, in essence, we did bring the hypothetical of bringing ourselves down to sea level. So anyway, let me just finish it. He also says, do not forget with your sextant, your nautical charts, your compass and dividers, parallel ruler, pencil, almanac, and chronometer to save your life on the life raft, if you even know how to use a sextant, that is.
But are we going to be using it? Just to keep asking this question. Are we now going out with this guy because he's fun and he's got a boat? I'm missing something. Are we just talking about... We don't want to play imagination with you, sad dweeb.
But Nathan, that's all he has. He has to imagine things. He has to imagine that. He has to imagine friends. So, I mean, have a heart.
He's going to use the other light on the boat.
Well, what he did was he went and he Googled celestial navigation and he wrote down the tools in his Google search.
Exactly, because that's what I did, and I came back with the exact same things you are going to need, and they matched everything.
Hello? Sorry, again, you are going to need. So now we're in a fantasy where he thinks I'm going out and buying a boat. We're not going to engage in your fantasies, dickhead.
Well, he also said there's no movies that ever have somebody on a raft using a sextant. Oh, yes, there is. It's called All Is Lost. Robert Redford.
You know, there's no movies where they're cleaning a toilet, but people clean toilets.
Well, Chuck Norris was shipwrecked, but they didn't have a life raft. He became the life raft.
I don't know how hard it is for somebody to just visualize somebody in a dinghy, with a sextant, and they've took a sight into the sun and used the horizon mirror to bring it down to sea level, and then they brought their eye down to sea level as well, and that distance between the eye and the GP of the sun is the horizontal line for the elevation angle, and that is the straight line distance for the radius of the circle of equal altitude. Now, if you can't just picture that and see it in your mind, what it actually is, there's no hope for you.
Well, what they're trying to do with that is they're trying to bring it back to height of eye correction, because they're going to constantly say, if it was level, you don't have to correct anything, because they have no clue what it means. So they're trying to declare curve. You're correcting to a curve. So when you bring them on eye levels, go ahead.
Well, it's just that if your eye level is not at surface level, your eye level is above surface level or below surface level. You would have to correct to that.
Yeah. So, I understand perfectly.
So the correction is with respect to the horizontal plane.
That's correct.
I think that's not hard.
Here's another one. What if the guy was 6'5" and he fell overboard, and the other guy's only 5'5"?
So not only were we an imaginary boat, we were imagining friends. This is so sad.
Oh God, it is like this guy is in a psychological dilemma. Definitely, whoever this is. It's definitely a psychological dilemma if this is what it's coming to now.
I actually answered it in
You know what I mean?
chat. Listen, one deck I couldn't resist. I was in
Well,
the FED text chat, and I just said, okay, here's the deal. If he's 6'5" and the other guy's 5'5", he just freaking minuses a foot. Hello? The shit was all taken that port anyway. They know what
hang
the
on a minute.
frickin' is.
Hang on a minute. Who's holding the sextant? The tall guy or the small?
The tall guy was holding a sextant. He was 6'5". Now the new guy's only 5'5". Oh shit, that's it. We're all gonna die now.
Now you need to give us the height of the sun, the altitude of the sun, Neil.
Oh no. We have a new one. See, he just wants to make the book. That's all. He just wants to be there. You can't blame him. I am at the top of the list of people that Nathan hates. I have it recorded. I demand acknowledgement in the pamphlet, #/booklet. So he wants to be in as he insults the book.
Oh, God help us. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. You don't laugh, what are you gonna? You just gotta laugh.
Yeah, he's a laugh. I've been psychoanalyzing him for a while. Just a lonely old man. Sometimes I feel bad, you know. It's like you could tell. Like I heard something about that guy Matthias. Refracted knows who Matthias is. He had a few debates with him. But I heard that the guy had said various times that the only way out is suicide. And I don't want to be the guy that's not sensitive to when somebody feels totally lost that they're contemplating suicide. I mean, this is life and death here for real. So, like, I got to step back and make sure that people are in their right minds. Because I don't want to add fuel to the fire and have somebody putting a freaking, you know what I'm saying?
Listen,
taking their own life. That's not cool.
That's not your fault. That's not your fault.
No, but you know what I'm saying, Eli. I don't want to antagonize
watch a few videos on narcissism, and then decide if you want to grant him that allowance.
Well, I don't think that guy Matthias was a narcissist. He was just a guy that got into a truth movement. I think he was a freaking.
I'm telling
he was
you,
an office guy.
I'm telling you, I'm 36 years old, and I didn't know exactly what narcissism was until just now. You know, it's not just about the typical, oh, the man does this. No. It's far more in most of us than we realize.
Yeah, I think with him, he thought when he came across this truth that it was going to cause a freaking chain reaction and uprising. And, you know, there would be a new government and stuff. And when nobody budged, nobody moved but him, he became a recluse and lives in the woods, I think. You know, so you don't know what their right mind is anymore. I'm just saying, I don't want to be the one to tip a guy over the edge.
Who's to say that's the wrong mind? I actually think that's the right response. Every day I have to think about all the idiots I live around. Why the fuck I even care? Why I bother? Like
what's the right response,
honesty,
Eli?
Say again?
What's the right response?
What he did.
Off the grid.
Extracted himself from the situation, because the truth of the matter is, think about it in other situations. So a man wrongs you. Do you go to breakfast with him and have coffee with him the next morning? That's kind of what we do in this country.
Yeah, but that's
Like,
that's in the beginning. But then but now his thing is he thinks the only way out is suicide. Come on.
Well, I don't know about all that.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be the one to freaking be arguing with the guy whether Jesus is God or not, and then find out he took his own life. I'd rather just pull away from the conversation totally.
Yeah, disengage.
Well, that's killed the conversation.
One deck, we're going to change your name to One Liner. Oh, shoot, that's straight too.
And we're going to change it to One Man.
This is not going good with no AC in my vehicle in Alabama. I'm going to lose my mind.
My wife's probably working on the book as we speak. I mentioned she's taken her laptop with her to work on the ordering, like actually formatting it in the order we came up with yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, but now she's actually got to put it in that order.
Okay, what's after that? Hypothetically, she gets it in the order. Next step is what?
Read through it, make sure it sounds right in that order.
Now, that's going to be just her or you reading it right through or to yourself, or is it going to be something
there's no
you
point
do?
in having an audience for that. We'll just rereading it. So, her and I. And that's about it.
It's getting exciting. You taste it. It's an accomplishment, mate. You should be proud of yourself. You started a YouTube channel, very successful. Now you're coming out with a book. Good on you.
Thanks, Neil.
A book that faced some challenges and you overcame them and pursued on. So should be happy with yourself with the help of your wife. Very good.
Yeah, at least I've got something interesting enough to make a book about, and there's enough craziness going on in the community that's been built up over those 10 years to have it be an interesting read. At least if you went in the in-between short chapters, like, do I want to read about axial rotation? No, but I'll read about these crazy people, these kooky people that I want to read about. Because there's going to be not a majority, but a portion of people that are only interested in that aspect of it. Like there's a predisposition to think we're all kooky. So I've lent into that to a certain degree with the anecdotes. Again, with a thought that I want the book to be interesting for people to read. And if they, get a good idea that there's going to be some anecdotal information in between the factual information, they might actually read through the factual information and learn Earth's measured flat in the process. But if it's just dull, they're never going to read through that, right? Whereas if they're hearing about interactions over flat Earth keyring sales and breakups and bust-ups and betrayals and transgender radio hosts, it's just, there's some stuff in there that's anecdotally interesting, isn't there?
Absolutely.
There's a bit of sex, there's a bit of drugs. It's not very much rock and roll.
There's a bit of, is it he or is it she?
Yeah, there's enough salacious aspects to the book to keep, your average housewife interested, and there's enough factual information to keep your average nerd interested. There's enough references to what actually has happened in the most literal historical sense to keep somebody who's a fan of the show interested. There's enough simplistic flat Earth information for the average Joe to read it and appreciate Earth's flat at the end of reading it, if they read it and they're intrigued with the other things that have sort of strung the book together. I don't know. I'll let you know my more realistic opinion of it once we read through, which will be in the next probably 2-3 days. We'll read through it, and I'll then give you my honest opinion, because it's hard to know at the moment. Even when we were working on it, I don't really. You just work through that sentence that's in front of you to make it as good as you can be, and then you move on to the next, and you don't kind of think, how's this all coming together? So I'll know that after this read through, right? Because we've got a completed draft. I just haven't even read it yet, right? So once we read through it in the order that it's supposed to be, I'll be like, okay, now I know what I've got. I mean, I'm not concerned about it. I just need to know what I've got for sale. And
hey, which housekeeping? I had to leave before I found out the answer to it. What housekeeping question comes first?
Earth curve.
Yeah, it's got a pretty strong opener on it.
For the housekeeping section, but that's a third of the way into the book.
Oh, which one comes last?
But the opening line of that chapter is better than the gooey molten core. You know what I mean?
Sure. The molten iron core historically was the first one to be developed because of Paul Voigt buggering off. I'll be right back with my proof of the self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. We've never seen him since. It's like the guy that goes out for milk and cigarettes and you never see again. Oh dear, fun stuff. But the first housekeeping chapter that the audience, reader in this case, is going to be exposed to will be Earth curve. Somewhere in that middle section there'll be R value and molten iron core, for that matter, and, other housekeeping questions. And the final housekeeping question that gets addressed, chapterally, whatever the word is any evidence that Earth is measured at anything other than flat. And then the final chapter is about the betrayal of my former editing team. That's the final chapter of the book. So it's more of an interwoven anecdotal summary chapter that describes how Earth is flat, but in a salacious setting that is specifically about the book that's just been read. So that's the final chapter. And then it's acknowledgements page with anybody who's joined as a patron, or anybody who's on Patreon, or anybody who's decided to pipe up and say that they'd like an acknowledgement that's been on the G Plus panel. And then that's it. Picture of my face,
like
maybe.
Sorry, Nathan. I'm saying I do like what you were saying the other day, and the fact that all this that happened put in the stall on the book, and as the the measurements of Earth, everything's measured flat, and where we are now, it was like it was meant to be. Like you said, you put it in such good words the other day. I don't know if you want to go over that again. It was brilliant.
I know you said you didn't want to necessarily pass judgment, John, but you obviously had to listen to that chapter that we were editing in full in order to put your comments that I've passed on to my wife. What did you think of the chapter? You did mention it the other day on the show, but we weren't actually finished at the time, so I didn't fully take in what you said.
Oh, it's as concise as it needs to be, and it's not completely dreadfully just so full of information. It's boring. I thought you did really well with the balance.
What you're saying is it was an okay read, even though it was a factually based chapter?
Yes.
That's all I mean,
some of the anecdotal parts of it was pretty good.
Oh, was there anecdotal parts in the chapter? What were the anecdotal parts about? Were they about an individual? What was the chapter R value?
It was might have been the rumpus.
Rumpus? Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
So do you mean,
the disturbance?
Disturbance.
Yeah, the disturbance. I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree. You did it perfectly where it's not too heavy. It's good just the way you got it.
I enjoyed listening to it. So.
How did that bloody Coriolis chapter end up? Did we get that squashed down a little bit?
I don't know. I can't remember. I'm sure there's one chapter that I only worked through with Paula once because it was very long. And then we got to the end and we're like, that'll do. Let's just stick it in and we'll worry about it when we come back to it in the edit because there's so many really heavy going chapters to get through. So there's at least one of the chapters that we're going to get to. I know it and go, this doesn't feel like it's been through the millers many times.
It's either Gravity or Coriolis. It's
Coriolis.
Is it Coriolis?
Because it was driving one deck insane, that Coriolis chapter.
That's one of the few subjects. I compare that to the tightropes described in Doom 2 by Carl Jobst, because he's got this guy who loves playing Doom 2 but is frustrated with running along these single pixel walls because you have to go really slow to not fall off them in order to complete the stage quickly. And that frustration is kind of my, by comparison, feelings towards Coriolis. I love what I do. I love doing the flat air thing, but Coriolis is so convoluted and complex that you just hate covering it because it's always going to be 3 hours of you trying to unpack what they think is your position on their effect that doesn't happen. And you end up with situations like with Simon Dan where you and your reference frames are ruined. Now, most people can't unpack what that really means. It just sounds like he's insulting the person he's saying it to. Whereas in reality, he's destroying his entire paradigm, but you have to unpack how he, as a globe believer, needs 2 reference frames. Therefore, when it comes to the Coriolis chapter in the book, if that's the one that needs work, I feel the most qualified to unpack any of the technical information and make it sound palatable or correct, more importantly. And then any anecdotal information about, I don't know, the process of arguing about, I'll just pull from my memory and it won't be an issue to edit particularly. You know what I mean? If it was Gravity, on the other hand, you're like, well, do I fully have it within my grasps to unpack Einstein's field equations? No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, but listen, Nathan, I know what you mean. I might be totally wrong here. I'm not saying any, because I couldn't do this. What I'm going to say, because you know. But what I'm saying is, you've always stressed how difficult this Coriolis is and to unpack, right? And it takes so long. I'm going to say I don't think it is. Now, you're going to say, well, you unpack it quickly. I'm not going to do that because I can't at the moment. But I think you could just narrow Coriolis down. I think you've said it that much that it's this big deal that you've convinced yourself that it is, and it's not.
It's not that I think Coriolis is a big deal, right? Coriolis it can be summarised in one sentence. It's a ball travelling over a roundabout that looks like it's curving from the roundabout when it's travelling straight. That's Coriolis. It's really basic. It takes one sentence to summarise it. That isn't what I mean. I mean, when you apply that to the ball believer's faith in an effect that's alleged to occur on a ball Earth, but doesn't, therefore needs justifying by powered flight or the conservation of angular momentum, summarised in what we would describe in the debate as the Globiolus effect. These are things that need to be explained to somebody who's reading about this, so they don't just go away from, well, it's alleged Earth turns underneath, and Tyson says the Earth turned underneath the football. That's why it curved through the goal, right? No, it all needs to be unpacked so that the audience can appreciate the complex nature of the assertion, who came up with the assertion, how it's suggested to be in standard globe Earth rhetoric applied to a ball Earth, how anti-flat earthers claim something completely different because they have noticed it doesn't actually happen, and they ping that onto us, suggesting that we've got a claim in any instance to defend. All of that is something that is worthy of a high degree of stress when compiling in a chapter, because it is a lot to unpack.
Let me say, hold on one second. The things about Flat Earth debate, it's about the show, right? These things transpired on the show. You could narrow it down to, like Nathan did, a couple of words. There you got it, Coriolis. But people are going to want to read everything about it, like Nathan just explained. And what may be boring to us, I'm telling you, people are going to lap that up and want more.
No, I don't mean boring. And I know exactly what you're saying, and I don't think you wouldn't do it in one sentence. But are you going into the globe rhetoric more, like we're trying not to with Coriolis more than any other of the housekeeping questions? Because you're going into what the globe.
I mean, with any of them, the answer is yes, because it's based around housekeeping as a skeleton for the book initially when it was first drafted. Now, yes, our rhetoric's evolved, but that has meant that whilst unpacking the old school rhetoric of housekeeping, I can now incorporate the new rhetoric because of a delay caused by two thieving bastards. So
yes,
exactly.
Which was the godsend, yeah. Brilliant.
I mean, it's not a godsend. It was still being fucked over by what you perceive to be but aren't actually your friends. But ultimately, what it did mean was there was a delay, and in that delay, the rhetoric changed. Now, we were working on book while I was doing Omi TV, right? Well, that was at a point that I could have just published a book on housekeeping and had the revenue developed from it and earned money from it. Instead, they caused this delay. Why? Well, because they wanted to thieve it, ultimately speaking. But in the process of that delay, we now reach a new point in the rhetoric. So the delay wasn't... There is a silver lining to the attempted theft. But ultimately speaking, it just meant that the old school rhetoric where it would just be unpacked from within a ball believer's perception has been incorporated within the new rhetoric of Earth's measured flat in order to achieve any of these discussions in the first instance. But when the book was being drafted in the fifth form that they robbed, we had people like Brian telling me off when I'm like, well, for you to now discuss this, let's say, Coriolis effect, you must describe the flat non-inertial reference frame in the mathematical description. So therefore, you've got a flat plane right off the bat with the maths to begin with. So we need a flat Earth for it. And you'd be told, no, I need to unpack how they say there's two reference frames on their ball that they believe that they're on. You're like, yeah, but to believe that they're on a ball and apply this mathematically, we need a flat plane to apply to the description mathematically. So we need a flat plane for it. Well, like I say, while that drafting process was going on, internally, we're arguing about whether it's okay to say Earth's measured flat when Earth's measured flat. It's like, well, why are we having this argument? The fucking frames of reference that turn on a plane to describe how you will observe something seeming to curve from it, it's just a description of how you seem to see something curving when you're on a plane that's rotating. That's what the maths describes. You don't like it? Who gives a fuck? The planes of reference in the maths couldn't give two shiny shites. Whether or not you like the fact that we will need a flat Earth for this, we will. It's just a fact. Now, we're like, well, now it's inconsequential to the point where we're self-deprecating. I'm inconsequential to our flatter planar references when describing it as inertial or non-inertial to have a Coriolis effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he even voiced it in one of the shows. He said Nathan's trying to make us redundant.
Well, they told me several times that I was sniffing my own farts, basically, for pointing out that. Yeah.
That is totally
back and listen
not
to it.
sniffing your own thoughts. It's showing everybody we're all a bunch of idiots arguing over this. Everything requires a flat plane. How is that sniffing your own thoughts?
Yeah, but this is why Tony Anthony, whatever he's called, Riley, has gone over there, because they still want to have the argument.
That's
Same
correct.
As the Globe, same as the Globers do. They want the argument for some reason.
Yeah, well, Anthony's a lawyer. Of course he's going to want the argument.
And it's not like, well, there's no argument.
With an argument, there has to be facts in an argument.
Anthony problem. What's that about?
There is no argument.
Exactly.
What happened with Riley?
But because we got to
I
this
think
Brexit-
Eli's trying to get in.
Sorry, Eli.
Yeah, what happened with Riley?
Oh, he's just a turncoat bastard. That's all there is to it. Nathan finished the cover of the book, and he put a mock together. Like, he completed all the freaking editing. He put a mock book together, and he put it in one of the rooms. And as soon as that went up, Anthony Riley left the room. Now, he claims that it was just a coincidence. But I've seen him on shows with Kiwi where he's cucking it up with them. Yo, what's up, Meekin? In the chat. Brian! How did he say it when he presented himself ready for action to QE? Something like, ready, sir, something to that effect. And I was like, this is making me fucking sick. All right? Because I thought you were Nathan's mate. Whether you had a falling out or anything, I thought you were there when this thing transpired and you took his back. And now I see you don't have his back. He's a piece of shit. He denies the fact that freaking a sextant measures the earth flat. He wants to argue about it. And he's not giving his freaking approval on it. And that's it. And he'll never come back.
Plus, he thinks Nathan should have given the thieves what they wanted.
Correct. His advice was just give them what they want. Like Brian's advice, just give them what they want, because he's just going to delay the book coming out. And I don't care what you say. There's no way, if this doesn't happen, say they're still on board, when they hand that book over and Nathan goes through it, there's no way that book was going to be released the way they had it, with all their links and all their freaking cross references and freaking channel references, whatever they had. Not with the new rhetoric. It was going to go through the mill. I don't care what Nathan says.
Well, it was a citation book. They took citations from other people and made a book out of it. I don't think.
Have you got a citation to back that up, mate?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I maybe it wouldn't have gone through it the way it's going through it now, but he was definitely not just going to freaking sign his name to it, and that's it. And that's what pissed him off, because he was going to get the last say in his own book. Figure that out.
No, it was Nathan's book, and it was taken over. So all of a sudden, it wasn't in people's minds. They turned it into a doctoral thesis, is what they did. They turned the whole thing into a doctoral thesis, and they took a bunch of. They wrote like they were presenting it to a professor. You know, they didn't do like they were trying to sell a book. Nobody buys people's fucking doctoral thesis. Pardon my French. Nobody goes out and buys a doctoral thesis for a read.
Yeah, you came in and voiced that. You came in and said it's starting to become a little bit, technical, and I think they lashed out on you.
Yeah, people just put that down.
Yeah,
you can, think, well, they're picking it up. The only reason they picked that book up is if they was wanting to have an argument with somebody about one of the, Coriolis, say, and say, hang on a minute, I'm just going to get the book, the citation book, and then read out the citations in the book and say, there you go. It's not an interesting read. It's just a dictionary type of thing.
It was a globe debunking book that Nathan turned to a flat Earth book. That's what we're getting now.
No, it was a flat Earth book to begin with that they
Yeah, but they were trying to make it how the globe don't work.
Right. They tried to turn it into that with citation after citation after citation. And like the bones of Nathan's book were still there. It was still told through Nathan's perspective. The entire friggin' book was.
Yep.
But it was just it no longer sounded like him because they had twisted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter now. That's all past. But I'm just saying he would have revised it anyway. I can imagine how that would have went down.
Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't there helping. They took over, or they tried to dominate and take over. Where I've been in some of these book sessions, not many, admittedly. I've had a lot going on, but I listen. I've said the odd thing, but it's Nathan's book, and only if you can't start taking over, saying this is that, and you spelt that wrong, and this you're going on and on and on. Just get the fucking story out. It's Nathan's book. It's Nathan's journey.
What's wrong with Mae West would be blushing? Everybody would know that's Nathan.
Anyway, let's not.
Yeah, that's like Huey's catchphrase, isn't it?
Yeah, the book is where it's at now, and it's going to be a great book. I'm very optimistic about it. I think it's going to sell well to the immediate community, and I think it's going to branch on as much as it's promoted. That's how much it's going to sell.
It definitely reads a lot better from what I've heard of it now. I've not been able to be around as much for this time through, but
but you got the overall understanding of how it's being done now.
Yeah.
I was trying to keep my distance from it, so when it's released, I can buy it and then go through it and get real annoyed and go, well, actually, and redline it.
Oh, it's a reality.
Like I said before,
now.
At some point, you just got to, like I said before, you can critique the book. You could probably change it 10,000 times. Say, right, we'll just do it. We'll just move that. At some point, you just got to go, right, you've got to take, I
think that's what's going to happen on the next read through one deck. Nathan's going to want to change things, but I think Paul is going to keep him in check that if it don't have to be changed, it won't be changed. Because like you say, you could change it a million times. Every time you read it, you want to change it over.
Yeah. How do you think I've coped with writing these poems for all these years and changing the sentences and moving one word to the, you don't understand the pressure I've been under writing these poems.
Listen, if something needs to be changed, you change it. I agree, because I've written songs, and I go back to them a few years later and say, well, this is a better word. Let me use this. So you can always change something. But if it's good, leave it alone.
Yeah, at some point
it's Nathan's book, so Nathan might listen to it. I might be able to jump in and say, "Oh, I didn't like that word. What Paul has just read out." But it's Nathan's book, so if it sits well in Nathan's heart, then he's it's Nathan's book. If he's happy with it, then it's his book. He's got to be happy with it.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I was ever tried to help with is any facts that may be out of line, or if a fallacy is being employed unintentionally.
Right.
I ain't trying to write it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but that's the editor's job too, right? So you're just being an extra editor on hand as a friend to see, hey, there's something wrong here with the in the celestial navigation part. So right over there, that one line, I think you got to fix that. And I guess you'll see that when you read through it.
I mean, I was, I mean, I'm not going to go back. I was thinking at some point, because it is referenced about the globe believers. Sometimes I think, oh, I was saying globe believers. That, I don't know why I kept thinking that. You know, should we be saying globe believers? But what else would you say? Do you know what I mean? It sounds, you know what I mean?
There's five categories.
Yeah.
There are five categories in this topic. There is a flat earth believer, a flat earth denier, a globe believer, a globe denier, and someone who just has knowledge of the earth's surface.
Well, that's the last one's correct, without a doubt. But what I'm saying is...
Yeah, that's where we fall in the last one.
Yeah, I know what a globe believer is, but I mean, I'm just thinking, I always think, well, if you're picking a book up as somebody just, that book's caught my eye, I'm just going to have a look at that. What's mean globe believer? It sounds like, I thought at the time, like we say, globe, maybe, you know, it's not a globe, well, it is a globe believer, but
hold on a second. Hold on, I've been thinking about that too. These are terminologies that were used. You can't run and hide from them.
Yeah,
this is what was used during this time when Flat Earth Debate became a show. These are the terminologies that were used. So you can't hide from them. You can explain when I say globe believer, I'm talking about anybody that's in the heliocentric mindset that the world is a spinning ball.
Anyway, guys,
so that's a good point. Sorry, Nathan. Just one. So yeah. So like in the, I've read Lord of the Rings. It has references in Lord of the Rings to what this. It might be. I don't know if Nathan's done that. Like, you know, put a reference to this means that means that references that. Anyway, you know what I mean. So go on, Nathan. Sorry.
And I'm going to round out with that. I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, joining at the Be in the Book Patreon member level if you did want to be in the book, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.